Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back today, Thursday, January 28th. It is 11:22 a.m. 11:22 a.m. here on a decent day in Kansas City, Missouri. And this is going to be an edition of the Nitro Show. Today we have a fun show of college sports and entertainment to discuss. A little backstory. People don't know, but I used to only watch MMA. Only watched MMA.
Right.
And I was a sick fuck. Like, I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to watch cards that were happening in Singapore.
Yeah.
I'd wake up at 2 a.m. to watch a card that was happening in Europe.
Uh-huh.
And I always thought other sports where I don't want to use the G word, but I'd always be like, oh, that's
Gay.
that's
No,
gay.
You're not going to offend me.
Okay, well, I used to call that gay.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I started watching NBA, professional NBA.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, dude. I kind of like this. Of course, I was a fanboy. I immediately started following LeBron. But he is so fun to watch. He's so exciting. So I'd watch LeBron. I started with that.
Yeah.
And he was on the Cavaliers at this point. So this is probably a couple of years ago now. So I started getting into NBA. And then the NBA season ended. And so football started.
Right.
So then I got super into the NFL. And like when I'm into shit, I have to have like 3 TVs up, you know. So it took time to get into NBA. It took time to get into the NFL.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I might like sports in general now. And then someone said, do you not watch college? And I said, what? Nobody watches college.
Yeah, your mind was blown, wasn't it?
Turns out people are more into college than they are professional sports. So I started to try to dive in there, and it's a learning curve. There was so much to learn about college. So we're going to discuss a lot of shit about college sports today, you're going to learn my ass up.
I'm ready, man. I'm excited.
So I'm Noah Hellhake. This is a Nitro Show, and I'm here with Gabe Noble, who is a college fanatic, and he is going to answer all my dumbass questions.
Well, I'm going to try anyway.
And we're going to drink. We're going to taste. We're not getting drunk.
That's right.
We're just going to taste the Heritage Hills honey-flavored bourbon whiskey that my boy was so nice to bring to me today.
Check it out. It's good stuff.
So that's the
made with real
plan.
honey. I'm trying to get an endorsement deal. Made with real honey.
What did you say when you came in here? It was made with what type of honey?
Right out of the hive. Just straight out of the hive, man. They just take that out, drain it out. It's delicious. It'd change your life. It really will. What do you think, buddy?
Okay, initial impression. It's very sweet to the lips.
It is. It's a very sweet whiskey. It's tasty. I mean, it's a good sipping whiskey.
Now it's got a kicker and the heat.
Oh yeah,
it's got everything you'd like. So far, so good.
It'll get you drunk quick, fast, and in a hurry. You know what I'm saying?
If we get bored of that, we'll pop out the Howler Head.
Dude, I actually really want to try that later today.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we get bored of that, we'll throw back some Busch Lattes.
Dude, I got a cooler full. Let's do it, buddy.
Okay, Gabe. So, there's going to be a lot of introductory stuff, so I thought a good way to start, would you just tell me how you got into college and what maybe drove you towards college rather than professional sports? Yeah. And if it's not something like, oh, I hate this about professional sports, that's okay too. Just kind of tell me why you wave over to the side of college rather than professional.
Well, I mean, that's really hard to say. I mean, it's something that, one thing about college sports that I love so much is it has a cult-like following. And I'm not saying pro sports, any given team doesn't have a cult-like following. I'm not saying that at all. But, I mean, one thing that I enjoyed early when I first got into college sports is the history and tradition of specific universities. I mean, that was one thing I really enjoyed. And, it's kind of cool to watch these kids, and literally that's what they are, kids, fight to the death for free. They're not out here making billions, which we're going to talk about that. That may change in the near future.
Hopefully it changes.
And we'll talk about that a little bit. But, growing up a poor farm kid in rural Missouri, watching these kids, work that hard for free. They're not making anything. They're just going to school for free to play football, basketball, baseball. That was fun for me. And, there's just, I think the rivalry aspect of it I really enjoy. I mean, there's so many rivalries, and it's not like a, Chiefs-Raiders, for example, rivalry that goes back a few decades. We're talking about like Duke and North Carolina that hated each other since the Civil War. We're talking about Alabama and Auburn, there was a time in Alabama and Auburn's rivalry where they couldn't play because it was so, hated and heated, and they were going to hurt each other. And then they went about 10 years without playing in the 20s, and the state of Alabama was like, look, we're going to quit funding both your schools if you don't start playing football again.
The 1920s?
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
So like I said, the state of Alabama, they came to both schools and said, look, you guys got to play or we're cutting your funding. And they're like, oh, crap, well, I guess we got to start playing football again against each other, And, just like I said, the more I started studying on different schools and the history and tradition they have, I just kind of fell in love with it. And, we'll talk about dominancy later. When we look at pro sports, there's certain teams that are so dominant, and there is in the NCAA too. But I don't know. There's more teams to watch, more athletes to watch. And the bracket. I love how we do the bracket. I mean, the 64 team bracket. That is so much fun. It's fantastic to watch that unfold every March and there's just a lot of things about college football that I enjoy better. Like I love how the NCAA does their overtime. I think the overtime in college football is the coolest experience ever. They give both teams a possession. It's not who scores first. It's not, you kick a field goal and now you get a possession. It's none of that. You both get, 25-yard line. You both get a run at it. And if you both score, neither one of you score, guess what? We got to do it again.
It's moronic that that's not how it is in NFL.
And I really would like to see the NFL do that someday. I don't know if they will or they won't. I've never heard it rumored, but that would be fun to watch if they did. I think.
It'd be interesting to look and see how many times an NFL game goes to overtime to see if there's a conclusion that they're drawing that says, hey, we'd have too many back-and-forth games that would last forever, but I don't think it would be that case. I think you have to give both teams a possession.
Yep.
Shout out to the 2018, which would have been in 2019 if it happened in January, playoffs for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Right? Where we lost because Brady went down and scored first.
Yeah.
And God damn, fuck you, D Ford. But, they almost have to give each team a chance. It's robbery that they don't.
Right. And that's one thing I've so enjoyed about the way they do that. You'll never see a tie in college football. In the NFL, you can get a tie. The Bengals tied with, was it the Eagles? The Bengals and Eagles had a tie this year. You don't see that crap in college football.
You see ties occasionally.
Yeah, and just the way the format of that overtime and just, everything about it it's fun. And then say you were the second team to get your overtime possession, first team scores, and you score, now you got a decision to make. We're going to go for two, we're going to go for the win, or we're going to go for another overtime,
Yeah.
There's just...
That almost involves the coaches more then, right? At that point, because there's
I'd
more...
say so.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I definitely think it does, and it's just so much more entertaining, I think. I think college sports in general is more entertaining. Dude, I even watch college baseball and softball every summer. And
really?
Dude, I get into the super regionals and the regionals, and I enjoy that, man. It's just something I've always really got into, And
Okay, so do you have one big story? I think I asked you when we were talking about this podcast before we started it. Didn't you have one maybe big story that really got you into it as a kid? College? Was there anything? Was your family really big into it?
My family is a big baseball family. My grandpa, he'd watch every Royals game every night. And, they play 120 games a year or something stupid like that.
A fuck ton.
100%. My grandpa would sit down and watch every Royals game. We were a big baseball family. And one thing that I got into was the border showdown when Mizzou won the Cotton Bowl, and they had Chase Daniels and Jeremy Maclin and all those powerhouses, and we would have to play Kansas every year, and that was one reason I was really bummed when Mizzou went to the SEC, because I enjoyed the rivalries we had in the Big 12, but the border showdown is probably what got me into college football, college sports in general, on the level it did. Because I don't know if you remember watching the border showdown. I think we were in middle school, early high school when they quit playing that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
But, it was just, so this is my deal, and I've always said this, hate is what fuels love for sports. So, as a Mizzou fan, which, I still pull for Mizzou. I'm not going to say I'm a Mizzou fan. I'm going to fight you over Mizzou. I'm not saying that at all. I do root for Mizzou, obviously, but, having the opportunity to hate Kansas on the level that we hated Kansas back then, that was fun for me. I love to hate Kansas. And now, I'm married and my in-laws live in Lawrence. And now it's even more fun. But guess what? The border showdown, even though they're trying to play it again, and I don't think that we really got an opportunity to this year because of COVID, it's not as much fun as it was back then to hate Kansas, And I loved, my brother-in-law is neighbors with Bill Self. And he won't tell me which house this is.
No fucking way.
I swear to God, my brother-in-law sells insurance in Lawrence, and he's neighbors with Bill Self. But he won't tell me which house it is because he's afraid I'll take a shit in the front yard, which I will.
Does Bill Self have to live in Lawrence? Is there a residency requirement for that?
I don't think so. I've never heard of such a thing. And
isn't Lawrence kind of shitty? No offense, but
are there some
pretty good parts there?
I mean, yeah, Lawrence is a nice town as a whole.
I mean, he's got to have a mansion, right? Bill Self.
I don't know. You won't tell me which one it is, but as soon as I
Right.
find out, I'm gonna shit in the front yard.
And it's whose? It's your.
It's my brother-in-law.
Is his house huge?
Yeah, see.
Okay,
he got a
so
nice house.
I mean,
I mean, it's not as nice as mine.
Mhm.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean, I just would imagine Bill Self lives in a fucking mansion.
Oh yeah, there's some real nice homes in the neighborhood, and the development they live in, they're not quite as fancy as like I'm sure the part of the neighborhood that Bill Self lives in. But yeah, I keep making excuses to go over there. I'm gonna try and get down to the bottom of it for you, and hopefully next time you see me, I've lit a bag of dog shit put on the front porch.
I kind of like KU though.
Do you really?
I mean, I don't have a rhyme or a reason to.
Yeah.
But I think they're a fun team to watch.
They are a fun team to watch, and one thing that has always turned me off about KU is, one, Bill Self's personality. I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is. I mean, that dude is a very trying to think of a good way to describe Bill Self. He's just a different character, I guess. And, there's a lot of what I would consider discrepancies in the way KU recruits, and that's something we could get into later when we talk about our recruiting scandals. But I don't know. I mean, they always have a phenomenal team. They've struggled just a touch this year. I think they're ranked 15th right now. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking KU. It's just, growing up, it was just fun to hate them, and hate in sports, like I was saying, hate is everything, when you're talking about sports, because, if you're an Alabama fan, you hate Auburn. If you're a North Carolina fan, you hate Duke. If you're a Cardinals fan, you hate the Cubs. If you're a Royals fan, you hate the Cardinals,
Yeah.
If you're a Chiefs fan, you hate the Raiders, and that's just what it is, man. Just, hating your rival team. And that's one thing I love about college ball is it seems that the rivalries are so much more intense, man.
And if you're a football fan, you hate the Patriots.
Everybody hates the Patriots.
But
Yes.
now everyone hates the Bucks. So. Except for Kemp. Shout out Kemp.
Yeah, right on Kemp. I thought Kemp was a Bills fan because of old Allen and his Wyoming brother.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's weird that I think he's just bandwagoning.
Is he really?
It has to be, huh?
See, that's a term I hate, the term bandwagon, because you can love and respect a team based off of, so like, we'll use Alabama for example. I really like to pull for the University of Alabama, and it's because I love Nick Saban. I've loved certain players the University of Alabama has had since they've had Nick Saban. I was a huge A.J. McCarron fan. And then recently we had Tua Tagovailoa, or how the fuck you say his name, Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith.
How do you say that?
Tagovailoa, I'm pretty sure.
Tagovailoa?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. He's Hawaiian, if you couldn't tell. But
man, that guy never got a chance not to get into NFL when we're already fucking going to be so deep in college. And he never got a chance on the Miami Dolphins.
Well, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick was a lot better quarterback than people gave him credit for. I mean, and I'm a big fantasy guy, and when you look at fantasy football stats, Ryan Fitzpatrick had some pretty good games.
He always gets points. You're
He
talking
does.
20-plus points, at least on
Yeah.
DraftKings.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he always is 20-plus points.
So, I mean, I think that was a poor decision midseason to bench Fitzpatrick for Tua, personally. I mean, nothing against Tua. I mean, obviously we're talking about him. I don't have anything against him. But Ryan Fitzpatrick was a lot better quarterback than people let on.
Tua had some phenomenal moments, and then he also had some moments where they obviously realized that they needed to bench him again.
Yeah. Well, he struggled. I mean, yeah.
Right, but I mean, it's your first season. And then right on the cusp of the playoffs, and you fucking miss it, and you
Yeah.
have a quarterback fucking debacle.
Right.
God, I bet they're pissed at themselves.
I bet they are too. And in Tua's defense, that is a hard transition to make. Even though you were a part of probably one of the greatest the greatest college football team of all time, that's still a hard transition to make into a new system, new coaches, new players. And you're the new guy in the locker room, and you've got all this weight on your shoulders to perform. I mean,
And you didn't get the reps, the live reps, to
Right.
show what you can actually fucking do. And
Yep.
then before you get them, or when you're starting to get those reps that you need, you get fucking pulled
Yeah.
for Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic. That's
And
right.
fortunately, Fitzmagic is just a good guy all around.
He is. He really
It
is.
appears from the outside looking in.
And what was it? His grandmother or mother that passed away mid-season, and he still came back and was winning football games.
I'm not sure. I never heard that story.
I'm pretty sure. I want to say it was his grandmother. His grandmother died like mid-season, and like Ryan Fitzpatrick came out afterwards and just started winning football games.
Fuck, dude.
I mean, that's impressive. Anybody that can do something like that.
How old is Fitzmagic? Young 40s or late 30s?
I was gonna say late 30s if I had to guess. I really don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to do a little research, but I'd say 36, 37, 38, something like that.
Okay, I have a question, and I think it's going to put you on the spot, but before I get to it, I kind of want to know, okay, before we did this, I asked you to watch a documentary.
Oh, yeah. I'm
And
excited we're talking about this.
it's a pretty sad documentary.
Oh,
But it also, it makes you a little bit angry from all sides. It is a 4-part, or is it 5 or 4 parts?
I'm pretty sure it's a 5-part series on Showtime.
Showtime, but you can also watch it through Amazon with a subscription to Showtime.
And it's the same way with Hulu. If you have a Showtime, that's how I watch it.
Yeah.
But.
And the thing is, was on Hulu, was the first episode free?
Well, I don't know. I already had that package when
Okay.
I went to look at it, so I'm not sure on that.
Well, I think if you have Amazon, you can at least watch the first episode, and you'll be caught. And then Showtime's a 30-day trial for free. But the documentary is called OUTCRY. It is about the story of Greg Kelly, who is a football player. And I don't want to butcher the story. I didn't get to rewatch it before this, but basically he grows up, and his dad has a stroke. So his mom has to devote a lot of time to his recovery and money. So he's playing football in Texas. And everyone knows, you got this vibe, right? Everyone knew he was going to make it to the NFL.
100%. I think there's still a chance we might see him on the next level someday.
We'll get to that here.
I would like that a lot.
So this man, Greg Kelly, he basically moves in with his best friend, and his best friend's mom owns a daycare. It's maybe not a daycare, but something like that, where they watch kids.
Right. I'm pretty sure it was a daycare. I'm pretty sure it was.
And the two best friends, Greg Kelly and his best friend. Do you remember his name?
Man, I should have wrote it down. I should have put it over here in my notes. No, I don't remember the best friend's name. It's
I'll look it up.
As soon as we hear it, we'll.
Yeah, I'll be like, God damn it. So Greg Kelly and his best friend actually both play football, but his best friend. And they're pretty honest about this. They knew he wasn't going to play after high school.
Right. And even on their high school team, he wasn't much of a athletic guy, even on their high school team, from what I understand.
So it sounds like they try to draw this picture that the best friend was super jealous of Greg Kelly.
Right, which I could definitely see that. I mean, Greg Kelly moved into his home, and this kid's parents, as soon as we hear his name, we'll feel like idiots. But this kid's parents start, putting all their time and effort into Greg Kelly. And I believe this gentleman's mother even made comments like, oh, when my son Greg goes to the NFL and things like that. I mean, that's a hard thing for a 17-year-old kid to hear. He's like, why doesn't mom care about me kind of thing.
Jonathan McCarty.
It was Jonathan McCarty.
Dude, why did I forget? I should have rewatched it. That was ignorant of me. But, yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they want to put that Jonathan McCarty was jealous and that's why he didn't step up or didn't say the things he said or maybe even led these kids to believe that it was Greg, I would say jealousy might be a good factor. I mean, this kid is obviously, I hate to be mean, I'm going to be frank, but the kid's obviously a nothing. I mean, he doesn't have anything going for him, and he was kind of a troubled kid anyway from what the show led us to believe.
Right.
And then he's hearing things like his mom and dad, calling Greg their other son and, devoting all this time and attention towards Greg. I could definitely understand how the kid would be jealous. And I'm not condoning what he did. What he did was horrible. And if you haven't seen it, you're going to get angry because I got angry. And you warned me before because you were the one that told me about it. You're like, hey, you really need to watch this documentary. And I did. You're like, heads up, it's going to piss you off. And it really did. And it was definitely one of those things where you got into it and you were sucked in. I mean, you're going to waste about 5 hours of your day just boom like that, watching the show.
No,
it is definitely worth it.
It's an incredible story.
It really is.
And they make you – okay, so anyway, basically Jonathan McCarty and Greg Kelly live together, and Jonathan McCarty's mother owns some type of daycare or facility within her home where they watch kids. This will be a spoiler. 3, 2, 1. Basically, Greg Kelly is accused of molesting one of the children that McCarty's mom hosts in her daycare. And it gets very interesting because almost through the first 3.5 to 4 episodes, they lead you to believe that it is Greg Kelly. And I was like, okay, this kid did it. Yeah. I understand that he seems like an honest guy. And why would he do this?
Right.
But the evidence is showing, like, I can see why they're convicted him. And I'll just do one more little spoiler. The big thing that made me so fucking mad, obviously the molesting of the child was the most mad I got. But something that makes you very mad is the system. The law system fails.
It really did. And man, us doing what we do, we try to, be pro-police. And it's hard for me to say this because I am pro-police, but the police officers that was involved in that incident messed up. And if you watch the documentary, you can see all the ways that they messed up. Not only did the police officers mess up in that, situation. I mean, the judge messed up. Like, they had a judge and the district attorney. I mean, do you remember the commercial that the district attorney made where she's, riding out like Tombstone and, you tell them I'm coming and hell's coming with me kind of thing? I mean, that is not okay in a professional, setting like that. You can't say and do things like that, on that level. And the fact that I shouldn't say we were obviously not part of it, but the show itself, and not just the show, the Greg Kelly supporters proved this is how this guy's innocent, and this is the level that he was innocent, and this is how bad was it. What city was it?
Okay, so that's what I had to get this pulled up because we have to shout these fucking pieces of shit out.
Right.
Lead investigator on the case, Cedar Park police officer Chris Daly.
Yep.
But it was inside the Williams County District Attorney Sean Dick. And then one of the biggest pieces of shit, other than that fucking piece of shit FBI guy they brought in.
Oh, that Texas Ranger dude?
The Texas Ranger.
Dude, that dude was a fuck.
He acted like he was like, oh, Greg Kelly, I fucking got you, dog.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he was probably the second biggest piece of shit in the fucking show.
And
the first biggest piece of shit, though, Sean Mannix. If you ever see this, seriously, fuck off. Almost to the point of kill yourself. You saw the evidence then at the end of this where it was obviously Jonathan McCarty.
Yeah.
And you still wouldn't admit it because you were on a fucking film and you didn't want to be fucking wrong on the fucking film. You were a piece of fucking shit.
Yep.
Everyone in there, that whole court, then they held that trial, that hearing,
Uh-huh.
to see if it was something that maybe they should really revamp their entire city's council.
Yeah.
And not one person.
Well, and I think what pissed me off most about that point is Greg Kelly's mother got up to speak, and the city council was not going to let her speak because she wasn't on the agenda to do so. Like, I guess I haven't been to a lot of city council meetings, but when you go to city council meetings, I guess you have to be put on an agenda to speak. Since she wasn't on, the city council was like, no, you can't speak. You have to be on our agenda. First of all, after what those people put his family through, the least they could do is give this woman 10 minutes to speak her mind, or however long she did.
Correct.
So that, I think, is what pissed me off most. And I know that's a big statement because there's a lot of things to get pissed off about in this show. But I think what pissed me off the most is how they treated his mother when she got up to speak. I mean, and she opened with, my husband, Greg's father, died before he could see this day. Because I believe Greg did 2 years in jail, 3 years in jail, something like that. Do you remember? He was incarcerated for a decent amount of time.
Well, and let's just touch on it there. Not only did he do a solid amount of, it might have been, okay, so he's probably 25 now, 26?
Something like that, yeah.
He probably did a few years in jail.
Uh-huh.
And the fucking judge worked with the DA, the district attorney, or whoever, to get him to sign a deal that says, I'm going to go away for 25 years because there's no way that I can win this case.
Right.
So no matter what, they weren't letting him go to trial to get a fair trial.
Yeah.
They were telling him he needs to go for 25 years, and that's the best deal they're going to give you.
Right.
Okay. They didn't interview a single other motherfucker at this goddamn daycare.
Yeah.
They didn't do any investigating work.
Right.
This whole town, this whole city, we should just drop a nuke on. Just drop a nuke.
I mean, and I think
get the residents out, leave the professionals there, and drop a fucking nuke.
I mean,
there's no other way to fix this. They had 3 different opportunities to go back and fix this.
Right. Right.
And they didn't want to fucking do their goddamn job. Imagine if we just didn't do our job.
Oh, dude, we would be sued and probably be thrown in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to draw up the fucking right medication for you, sir.
Right.
Because I don't want to do my job.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you fucking did, you piece of shit.
Well, and I don't know if you noticed, but at the end when they were talking about where these people are now, the DA, the one that made the commercial that I was so pissed about, she actually killed herself not long before that documentary was released. And I can't remember her name. She bigger middle-aged lady with blonde hair. Can't remember her name, but she was the one that made that really fucked up commercial.
Right, but the rest of them are still in their positions.
Oh, 100%. Well, one of them got promoted. The guy with the last name Dick, he got promoted. He's like the district, I guess, circuit judge of that portion of Texas they live in.
Feck off.
Well, and like I don't think I've ever seen municipal corruption on that level. I mean, that's insane.
That was horrific. Usually the next step up corrects it.
Yeah.
Because they know they're in the public eye.
Right.
These people didn't give a fuck.
No.
They were unfucking touchable.
Well, and I believe Greg Kelly was innocent from episode 1 because in episode 1, he was able to prove that he moved out a whole month before this allegedly happened. So if I'm an investigator, and I don't know much about police work, but if I'm an investigator and I go to interview a suspect and I was like, hey, I moved out a month prior to this. Here's the proof that I moved out a month prior to this. And here's proof that I was in another freaking city at the time it happened. Because if you remember, Greg Kelly was helping, I believe it was his brother, move. And he was in whatever town his brother moved to at the time this happened. And he's sending texts and taking pictures in this other town at the time this allegedly happened. So if you're an investigator and you see that, your first thought is, we got the wrong guy. I mean, he's not even in town.
Or
he's not even living in the home.
How about we address the alibi? They saw his alibi and they said, oh, this is cool. And threw it in the fucking trash.
Yep, they did. They really did.
Metaphorically.
And, you know, I mean, it's sad that we even have to have this conversation because in today's age, you know, I mean, I want to be pro-police and, they're doing the right thing. And there are a lot, most of them are, but the police that were involved in this situation were way out of line. Way, way out of line.
You know what sorry to interrupt you, but you know what, on that, before I forget, you know what I've seen a lot from street cops with our job?
What's that?
Is I've had a lot of street cops fuck up. You know, like maybe they're being a little too aggressive, which would be okay if the person actually needed that.
Yeah.
And then they find out that maybe they just have it a little bit wrong.
Right.
And they're like, oh, actually, I'm sorry, I need to back off here. Because their job is so intense,
Yeah.
you have to be someone who's able to flip from doing the biggest intervention to apologizing quick.
Right.
And I've seen that, and I've been very proud of officers who are like, hey, we got this guy pinned down. We think he committed this crime.
Yeah.
And then they call you out to check him out, medically. And as you're there, the scene evolves, and the guy who they initially have didn't do it.
Yeah.
And they stand him up. They apologize because that's who they thought. That's what they had to do at that time.
Right.
And that's all this guy needed to do. Like,
100%.
be like, hey, this is the evidence, okay?
Yeah.
We fucked up. We're very sorry. We're going to take heat. They're going to take heat for it.
Yeah.
And you need to take the heat. You need to be apologetic.
Right.
And then you can continue on your positions.
Well, and that's another thing. We're all human. We all make mistakes.
Right.
So in that situation, you've obviously got the wrong guy, and you've obviously took this way farther than it needed to go. There is a point where you can stop and say, look, I'm sorry. I messed up. Like, let's make this right. And, I mean, like I said, I've never seen police work done in such a shoddy,
I guess my point
manner.
is the street level cops that we have here, who you can just, most big departments, you can just get on if you live in the city.
Right.
These people are capable of doing that, but these high level motherfuckers who work for the court, pardon me, they can't do that.
Yeah.
That lets me know that these people are fucking criminal.
Oh, 100%. And, man, like, I've been blessed because every city I've worked in, in Kansas City is one of them. We have some phenomenal cops in this city. I mean, I enjoy working with all of them. So I feel bad that we're taking this moment to really rag on the police. That's not really, and I know that's not where you want to take this either, but it just saddens me that there are police officers in this world that are that shitty at their jobs. But, I mean, it's that way with every line of work. I mean, there's, firemen and paramedics in this world that are that shitty at their job and things of that nature. But, I mean, if you haven't watched OUTCRY, you need to do it, and you're going to get angry. Like, you're going to get pissed off. I did. I got really pissed off because of the bullshit that they were doing to this poor kid. It ruined this poor kid's life. I mean, this kid's going to recover, and, we were talking earlier, we hope he makes it to the next level someday.
He might be the only person in this situation that is able to recover, though.
100%, because you don't hear that
so
very
many of
often.
these other cases where, basically, to ruin it real quick, is this guy now is a walk-on
At the University of Texas.
at the University of Texas, and he might play in the NFL.
And I think this will be his first season with the University of Texas, so we haven't got to see him on a collegiate level yet. But based off of what we've seen out of his high school, time, and what was crazy is while all this was going on, he continued to work, and he continued to, work out, lift,
started his own gym.
Yeah, I mean the guy. It's not like he just sat in his jail cell and he's like, well, I guess my life's over. Like this
Or
guy
when he
continued
got out,
to work.
he didn't wait for it to unfold. He knew he was innocent, and he said, I'm going to play fucking football. And he
Yeah.
worked. He opened that gym.
Yep.
And my God, man.
And shout out to his wife, man. I mean, when they're
Wow.
dude, I'm serious, man. Like that, like out of all the things that I got out of that show, he was 18, 17 when he went in. His girlfriend at the time was the same age. Not a lot of 17, 18-year-old girls are going to be like, well, I'll wait for you. I mean, they'll say it, but are they going to do it?
She is the definition of ride or fucking die.
Dude, that woman's a saint, man. And so if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it, but this woman literally waits for him. And and they continue a relationship while he's in prison. And he was in prison for, I believe it was 4 years. They continue to and they got out and they got married, and that was incredible for me because I was like, wow, I don't know many women on this planet that be like, hey, I know you're going to jail for a sex crime, but I'm gonna wait for you.
Right.
That doesn't happen a lot, dude.
And,
I've never seen
and even
that.
if they say it, it's not true.
Right. It's crazy, man.
Wow. Yeah, you guys got to go watch this documentary.
Dude, we got our blood pressure up early in this
I
thing,
know.
man.
A fucking outcry. Dude, but hopefully Greg Kelly makes it to the NFL.
I would really like to see that.
That would be so fucking
And,
awesome.
we talk about, rags to riches story, Michael Orr from The Blind Side, and guys that came from nothing that are, superstars now. I think Greg Kelly's story would be the pinnacle. Like, there will never be a story like Greg Kelly's. I think if it does happen, I think that'll be the most epic Disney sports series ever.
A story like Greg Kelly's on Disney?
I mean,
It couldn't be on Disney, but
that's true.
the thing is, there's going to be thousands of stories like his, but none will result in the final, I don't know a good way, not the final form, but none will result in how his ended.
Right.
None will result usually with the person finally being alleviated of the crime, and then them convicting the correct person.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of fucking crime where they end up getting DNA, and it, they allow somebody to get out of prison after years, but that doesn't always mean they find the right person who did
Right.
it. It just
Yeah.
means that they've determined that this guy didn't do it because of DNA.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard of a gentleman doing 4 years in a Texas state penitentiary and getting out and then being a college football star. I mean,
And
you don't hear
especially
that,
with his history, shout out to the University of Texas
100% shout out to the University of Texas.
taking this, and looking at it from all angles and giving him the opportunity, because most colleges, I can guarantee you,
They don't want to touch it. They don't want that. They
even
don't want
if
that
he was
publicity. They want nothing to do with it.
exonerated, they would have just said, no, we're
Yeah.
not taking you. Your story's huge. You're going to be a fucking a target.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. They gave this guy the fucking chance that he fucking deserves.
Yeah. And, Greg Kelly's an example of how hard work really does pay off. I mean, he spent all this time working hard to clear his name, and then not only clearing his name to, work hard to get to the next level. And he did it, I mean, that's proof that hard work does pay off. I hate to get a little league coach on you, but, that's just a prime example,
Okay, so enough about fucking Outcry. It's a great documentary. You got to go fucking watch it.
Definitely worth your time. Definitely.
Be ready for your emotions to go all over the place.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the question that I was going to bring up before, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you give a quick breakdown if you had maybe 2 minutes, and you can have as much time as you want, but if you had like 2 minutes and someone said, can you break down what I'm watching in college? Because you turn on a game and you're watching two teams, and then the next game, those two teams might not even be related,
Right.
within the same jurisdiction, SEC, NCAA. So could you give a quick breakdown of how the colleges work?
Well, I mean, that's kind of hard to do in a vague setting, but I mean, there is, you'll see a lot difference in football play from an SEC school to a Big Ten school. You'll see a lot difference in a Big Ten school to a Big 12 school. And, there was a time, and now the way, playbooks are written and coaches coach, there really isn't a difference anymore. But I mean, in the 80s and 90s, you would see a Big 12 school run a style of offense that nobody else in the country would run. And it's the same way with the SEC. You'd see the SEC, schools do different things.
Can you name a top dog? Who's that? If you had to say gun to the head and someone asked you who's the best, where are the best teams at?
Nick Saban at the University of Alabama. And when I say that,
what league is that?
That's in the SEC.
Okay.
And which the Southeastern Conference, I mean, that is the reason I said earlier that I think Mizzou was stupid to go to the SEC. And I always say Mizzou was stupid to go to the SEC. And even though their first 2 or 3 seasons in the SEC, I think their first season in the SEC, they were not bowl eligible, but their second, third, and fourth season, they went to the SEC championship and lost, which is huge. But after Gary Pinnacle retired, seniors graduate, life moves on, they're not dominant anymore. And I think Mizzou will be thought about as a South Carolina or a Vanderbilt. Schools in the SEC, they're just there because of the geographical location. In the SEC, I'm a big Nick Saban fan, and a lot of people are going to think, well, I'm a bandwagoner because I'm a Nick Saban fan. Well, that's not it. I have respect for the way the man runs his football programs. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has been dominant everywhere in college football he's been, except for the NFL. He did a run of 2 years in the Miami Dolphins, 04-05, and 05-06. The Miami Dolphins were horrible at the time. Horrible. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, I don't even think they went 500 under Nick Saban.
Do you know what years this were?
I want to say 05-06 when Saban was with the Dolphins.
And he was allowed to come back?
To the college, yeah, because and I respect him because he's like, you know what, I'm in over my head. What I'm doing here in Miami in the NFL is not working. If you back up a couple of years, he just won a national championship at LSU. Leaves LSU to go to Miami. He's like, you know what I'm doing at Miami is not working. I'm going to go back to college football. He goes to Alabama, and not long after getting to Alabama, they're dominant. I mean, they won in 2009. 2009 was the first year they won a national championship under Nick Saban. And that 2009 season, I mean, it was phenomenal to watch Nick Saban work. And that guy he is the best recruiter in college football.
Saban?
Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the best recruiter in college football.
How does recruiting work if you're the coach?
Well, I mean, so we're going to talk about John Calipari later, and one thing I will give John Calipari credit for is he goes into poverty-stricken neighborhoods to recruit. He's one of the only major coaches in the NCAA that does that. He takes time out of his busy schedule to fly to the Bronx, to fly to inner city Chicago, inner city Detroit, Atlanta, and recruit these kids. And it depends on the program you run. I will say that traditionally, and John Calipari is the exception, coaches that are very hands-on in recruiting seem to do the best in regular season play, or just when they take the field in general. And Nick Saban, he does do a phenomenal job at recruiting, and I think about all the big name recruits Saban has brought in. You'll see pictures of Saban and this kid's mama hugging on their front porch, and the guy. But here's the deal: if you're Nick Saban, I mean, you don't even really need to work that hard at recruiting because you've got a line of people in this country that want to play for you. I mean, there's dudes that all around this country. Anyone who knows anything about college football, they want to play for Nick Saban. So the guy doesn't have to work as hard as he does to be as dominant as he is, but it's the fact that he puts in that work is why they continue to be dominant every year. And people are going to hear this and they're going to think, oh, this is an Alabama bandwagoner, blah, 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 blah. But you can't, turn a blind eye to the great things that he's doing at that university. So, I mean, it's been probably 6 years ago now. I actually had an opportunity to go to the University of Alabama and tour the football facilities at the University of Alabama.
You did?
I did. Me and my dad. It was a really cool opportunity. I've got some pictures. I'll find them for you later. But I mean, just being in that atmosphere, and we were talking about earlier how it's a cult-like atmosphere. I've never seen anything like that ever. I mean, and it's a thing. I don't know if the University of Alabama still does it, and with COVID being what it is right now, it may not. But there's a website you can get on, and you can request a free tour of the Alabama sports facilities. And me and my dad, we did that in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and we got to go through the stadiums and get out on the field and go through their practice facilities and stuff. And it was very, very impressive. And I don't think that, I mean, I've yet to see anything that.
What was so impressive about it?
I mean, it's hard to put my finger on one thing. One thing that was super cool for me is just the atmosphere in general. I mean, I don't know if you know much about the state of Alabama, but it's a pretty poverty-stricken community, and there's no professional sports in the state of Alabama. So you're either an Alabama fan or you're an Auburn fan. So these people in Alabama, they take football more seriously than a lot of states do. I mean, football in Alabama is huge. And just the way that, we were in a restaurant, Dreamland Barbecue. I don't know if you go to Alabama often, but if you go to Alabama, you got to stop at this barbecue restaurant. It's called Dreamland Barbecue. And it's in the heart of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in kind of a poorer neighborhood. And we're in there eating this phenomenal barbecue. To this day, the best barbecue I'd ever had. And you can tell I like to eat.
You motherfucker. Did you just say it's better than any Kansas City barbecue? I mean, I'll trust you, man. I'll trust your word. I actually don't really like barbecue.
We'll go one of these days.
Okay.
You'll see what I'm talking about.
All right.
But we're in here eating, and somebody walks in with an Auburn shirt on. And the staff threatened not to serve this gentleman.
I don't even know why I'm so nervous right now.
And it's like, and I remember, he was at the table next to us, and I'm sitting here watching, and I grew up in rural Missouri. I can't relate to in the way that these people can, but they were not going to serve this guy, and it was legit. Like, it was not like just playing around. Like, they're like, sir, you need to leave.
Holy shit! Because he was wearing an Auburn shirt.
Because he was wearing an Auburn shirt, and that to me was like, wow. I mean, they take their football so seriously here. They're going to kick a a paying customer out of this restaurant because he's wearing another team's jersey. You won't see a Raiders fan in Kansas City be kicked out of a restaurant. I mean, I guess you might, but I've yet to see it in all the years I've lived here.
No, he might get punched in the face, but he can eat. He can eat.
Oh yeah, I mean, as long as his car, his check clears. I mean, yeah, I mean, well, you want a medium rare? All right, sounds good. But I mean, yeah, just the university itself. I mean, it's a beautiful campus, man. Beautiful campus. People down there are so nice. They're just such friendly people. We'll talk about Southern hospitality, but like that's where it's at in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I mean, these people didn't know us from Adam, and they're treating us literally like family. And we're, like I said, from rural Missouri, and now we're in Alabama, and these people were family all of a sudden, and just things like that. That was such a cool experience. And
did you tell people at the restaurant that you went and toured the facilities? Because I bet they appreciated your interest in doing that.
Oh yeah, and I was wearing an Alabama hat, and
okay.
and I was obviously like trying to be a part of it, and I think Dreamland is not really a tourist trap, but at the same time it kind of is. Well, it's definitely not a trap. Trap is not a good word to describe it, but if you're from out of town, that's definitely a place you need to stop and check out. So I think when we were talking about it, I don't think they were surprised, because I think they're used to people coming in like, oh man, I got to meet Nick Saban today. Like, oh cool, he was here last week. Like, whatever.
Right.
And I think one of the waitresses actually said that, like, oh yeah, he stopped in last week. We said hi.
So did you meet him?
I did not. I seen him. He was on the field. So at the time we were down there, they were doing a high school football camp, and kids were in from all around the country at this Nick Saban's high school camp. And it's a charity thing he does for a thing called Nick's Kids, and all the proceeds from this camp that he does goes to his foundation, Nick's Kids. And so we saw him. He was on the field walking around, and I don't know how familiar you are with Nick Saban, but when he's on the practice field, he has this like cool little golf get up. He's got this cool ass little golf hat that says Alabama and shit on it. And, like, he looks like he's out to play around to golf, and he's running around screaming and hollering and shit. And I'm on the sideline like, oh shit, I can't believe we're watching this.
Damn, so you were close to him.
We were. I was close enough to hear him cuss.
Fuck yeah,
it was pretty fun. But no, I didn't get to meet him. I really would have liked to have. We were there at a time A.J. McCarron had just graduated, and I was a big A.J. McCarron fan, being in high school and watching A.J. McCarron play. That I don't know if he's actually a backup to Deshaun Watson at the Houston Texans right now, and that was really cool. We got to go to the locker room. I got like my picture next to A.J. McCarron's locker, and
nice.
His stool where his bare ass was on. I was like, oh my god, A.J. McCarron's bare ass was on that stool. What am I gonna do? And
such a college dick rider.
So I've been to I've been on LSU's campus. LSU is a very nice campus. Recently went to a game at Mizzou. Mizzou has a very nice campus.
So did you get to watch a Bama game?
No, I've yet to go to a Bama game.
So
this was in the middle of summer.
What did you go there for initially?
Just vacation. We were on our way down to the Gulf to party on the beach, and I was like, hey, let's stop in at Tuscaloosa and party with our Alabama fam, and we did. And like I said, man, people treat us like family. It was a really cool experience to get to be a part of that for a week or however long we were there, 4 days, something like that.
Yeah, no, that's
amazing.
But
they have a thing down there called the Bear Bryant Museum. And that's a really cool thing to go into because they've got like all of like their national championship trophies. One thing in there that I thought was really cool is they had Nick Saban's white polo where they dumped the orange Gatorade on him after the 2009 national champion. It was like in glass.
Oh wow!
And I was like, oh, it's stained orange.
That's actually fucking cool.
It was pretty cool. I got a lot of pictures I'll have to show you later.
Yeah,
it's a pretty dope experience if you get a chance. And like I said, I mean, there's the other college football programs that take a lot of pride in their facilities. I mean, LSU has a live tiger that lives on their campus in a cage. No, 100% they do.
No, they don't,
bro. 100%.
You saw this tiger?
I did not see it, but you can get online and watch it.
Wow, that's cool, but horrific too. Poor tiger.
100%, yeah. I think they bought it from Joe Exotic, from what I heard.
I wonder what number tiger that is.
That tiger was already hooked on meth when it got down there.
Like, how many tigers do they have to get to keep that tradition up? How many tigers do you think they've had in the history of their sport? 40?
Probably, maybe.
Probably
I really don't
40
know.
tigers.
Something like that.
These fucking tigers can't live long, huh?
I don't know, dude.
I don't know.
But yeah, they have a live tiger that lives on that campus, and it's pretty impressive.
That's fucking wild. Hey.
All right. I got an argument in the barbershop today. I shouldn't really call it an argument. We were talking about athletes that should give the Heisman Trophy back. And I think Cam Newton should give the Heisman Trophy back. Cam Newton, if you see this, I'd really like to see you return that. That would be just the right thing to do. So Cam Newton, a lot of people don't know this. And you probably wouldn't know this if you don't follow college football, and especially if you didn't follow college football at the time. So Cam Newton was a backup to Tim Tebow at the University of Florida, which we all know Tim Tebow, was a phenomenal athlete, won a Heisman Trophy, had a very mediocre NFL career, which is sad.
Hold on. Sorry, I have the bladder of a 3-year-old and needed a Quest bar. Go ahead. Cam Newton should give up the Heisman.
Cam Newton should give up the Heisman, and so Cam Newton was a backup to Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow, won a Heisman Trophy. And I don't think Tim Tebow got a fair shake in the NFL. I mean, the 1 year he was with the Denver Broncos, they went to the playoffs and I don't think they had a deep playoff run, but they were there. That's more than a lot of programs can say. But Cam Newton, he's in Florida. He steals some laptops while he's at the University of Florida. Gets kicked out. He goes and plays a year at Blinn College in Texas, which is just JUCO colleges. So if you go on any kind of leave, you have to take a year off from the NCAA, or you have to go play junior college football, which is what he did. He wins a championship at Blinn College, which is a junior college in Texas. Comes back and he's looking at places he wants to go play. Back in Division I. The Mississippi State offers him $55,000 to play football at the University of Mississippi, which, as we've talked earlier, is a no-no.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do that. Well, so Cam Newton's dad took the $55,000.
Can you do that?
Well, Cam Newton's dad went to jail because of this. And so Cam Newton takes the money to play at Mississippi State, but as we all know, he did not play at Mississippi State. He goes to the University of Auburn, where he won a championship at the University of Auburn, and he won the Heisman. And at that point in time, we can't take away from the fact that Cam Newton's a good athlete. I'm not saying he's not a good athlete at all, because he obviously is. But his dad actually went to jail because of the, taking money from Mississippi State when he didn't go to Mississippi State. And I don't know how much time Cam Newton's dad did in jail, but, he accepted the Heisman Trophy. And this is what makes me mad, is you cannot tell me the University of Auburn, somebody did not pay him to play football at the University of Auburn. I don't care what anybody says. I will fight anybody. I do not know how much. That's what I was talking to my barber this morning. I would love to know how much Auburn paid him to play football there. But what pissed me off the most was in an interview in a documentary they made about the Alabama and Auburn rivalry. Cam Newton was asked about his dad's and his investigation and his dad going to jail. And Cam Newton grins great big and starts nodding. He goes, well, I can't talk about it because, as they say, it's still under investigation. And I was like, boom. I know Auburn paid him. I would love to know how much Auburn paid him. But that really set the tone for the rest of my life. I've hated Cam Newton ever since, and I'd really love to see the Heisman Trophy returned.
Fuck, dude. But here you're about to be, and I already know because we talked about this, you're about to be on the opposing side where it's okay for them to pay people. So what about...
Do you want to go ahead and dive into that now, or what do you think?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to, before I had to take a bladder break, I wanted to, real quick, just to wrap up, you said, gun to your head, SEC is the best conference.
I do. And
so, is that only because Bama's in there?
No.
What if you took Bama out? SEC's still the top dog?
Look at last year. LSU won last year. LSU's an SEC school. Auburn winning during Cam Newton's run.
It always sounds like you're saying SEC.
SEC.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not fucking it up.
No, you're good. I just think that, Texas A&M was a... Texas A&M really got their feelings hurt. They weren't a part of this Final Four, which is another thing that I really want to talk about. I don't like this Final Four format in college football. If you want to talk about that more now, I'd love to. I think they need to do a 16-team playoff.
Right. Okay, well, as long as we have something concrete, and I know that it's your opinion too, but just as like the average fan, they can put some reassurance that SEC is usually the top dog, and it has been for a while.
When it comes to football, I would say yes, because and I'm not just saying that because the University of Alabama. We had LSU last year, which LSU last year had a phenomenal season.
They were incredible last year.
Joe Burrow and Ed Orgeron, go Tigers. I mean, dude, those guys played some phenomenal football. This year they had a rough year. But you can't graduate 12 of your starting 24 and expect to be as dominant as you were before. You just can't do it.
Such an insane variable for college sports that your best guys can leave like that.
Right, and that's one thing that's why, Alabama is kind of the exception. Ohio State recently has kind of been the exception, which Ohio State is a Big Ten school. But, that's why you see, Florida. Florida will go up and down. There'll be 4 years where Florida is really good. There'll be 4 years where Florida can't buy a game. There'll be 4 years where LSU's really good. There'll be 4 years where LSU can't buy a game. And I'm not saying it's always happens in 4-year increments, but it happens as you graduate guys. I mean, you only get 4 years of eligibility. If you redshirt, you get 5. So if I was to recruit you and you were to.
But what does that mean? Because if you have 5 years of eligibility, you're not playing for a year. So
That's
really,
correct.
you still only you might get extra practice.
Right.
But
So
you don't have 5 years. You still only can play for 4 fucking
right,
years.
Correct. And so your redshirt year is basically you suffered an injury that did not allow you to play in that season, so you were able to redshirt a year. Basically, just take that year off, so you would come back as a, that's just what they call it. It's just your redshirt
But
year.
some people can opt to redshirt, can't they?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an injury.
No, you. I
believe
don't
my
know
buddy,
I don't
who's
know the
actually
answer
a
to that.
KC cop, redshirted at a local college
And he didn't
for football.
He didn't have an injury. He
No,
did it
I
just
believe
take a
he
year
just
off.
just to get maybe into shape for that level.
Yeah,
I'm not sure,
I got
but I don't think he
Well,
was
I do know you
injured.
can only redshirt once in your collegiate career. So if you redshirt as a freshman, you can't redshirt again. So I actually I probably should know the answer to that, but I don't. I was always thought it was an injury involvement, but
Has there ever been like a fucking 40-year-old that comes back and plays? Because you're always eligible, right?
So there was a gentleman at the University of Alabama Birmingham who was 31, maybe. He was an Iraq War veteran, and he joined the military instead of going to college and playing football. And when he came back, he still had all 4 years of eligibility.
And he played.
He played. I don't
Where
remember.
Did he go?
The University of Alabama at Birmingham.
Just banging fucking 19-year-olds, 31 years old. He's like, you want to see my fucking gun?
Right. Yeah.
Because I was just in fucking Iraq.
And there's been other guys that's done that. I can't really think of any. Off the top of my
Imagine
head.
you're the fucking dad of this goddamn 18-year-old girl, and your fucking daughter's getting fucking dicked down by a fucking goddamn 31-year-old. This guy's killed people probably.
Mm-hmm.
And now
100% he did.
Now he's lighting your daughter up.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I feel bad for that dad. That's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving.
There's many dads there that their daughters got dicked down by a 30. Maybe he was gay. Maybe he liked men.
I don't think he was, Noah.
There was dads who had sons that were getting railed by an
Hey.
Iraq vet. 31 years old.
Yeah, dude.
Just shitting on the game.
Yeah, he was. And so, I mean, dude, I'm trying to think if there was more. That's the only guy that really stands out right now. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's possible. I mean, hell, we could go back to college right now, and it wouldn't be worth it for me because I wouldn't be very good, but I could go back to college right now and play basketball or football or
Dude,
whatever.
they wouldn't let me be the backup to the chick who gives the guys water. That's how unathletic I am. Okay, so we'll move on, I promise. But okay, go ahead, and you have the SEC. Just name the other conferences.
So the Big Ten, Big Ten, Ohio State this year, and in previous years, the Big Ten is Ohio State, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Michigan State.
And they're right under SEC in your eyes?
I would
for
say
football?
yes. I would say yes. And I think the Big 12 which is Oklahoma, Texas Tech. I think they're probably tied for second in my opinion because Big 12 football, the University of Oklahoma, they've had some phenomenal last few seasons.
Yeah.
And the Texas schools have been a little dormant. I guess TCU and Baylor had pretty decent runs about 2015, 2016. But, yeah, I'd say SEC just because of how easy it is to recruit in the SEC. Now, I say it's easy to recruit in the SEC. It's obviously not because you got schools like South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, which Kentucky actually had a really decent year. But Mizzou now, I hate to say it, but Mizzou now, very Arkansas. You do have schools that are just there because of their geographic location. Schools that aren't as competitive. But it's like that in almost every conference. You look at the Big Ten, you got Nebraska. Nebraska has been very poor. Nebraska used to be a Big 12 school when Mizzou was in. I think they actually left with Mizzou to go to the Big Ten. Nebraska has had some very poor seasons. Northwestern, they've had some pretty, rough seasons. I heard recently they're kind of starting to rebuild their program. And I saw this morning on SportsCenter, their coach just got offered a 10-year contract, which is almost unheard of in college sports unless you're like a Nick Saban, or, I'm trying to think of another.
Or a
good
lifetime contract. John Calipari.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fucking GOAT. We'll get to him. I
I've got a list.
wanted to egg you on a little bit.
Well, here's the deal, man. I think, we'll get to that later.
Okay, so and you don't have to do them in order or justify it. I'm just trying to get the information into my big dumb brain. You have the SEC, you have the Big 10, Big 12. What else do we have to work with?
Let's see, the Pac-12, which is the California
Pac-12.
schools. Yeah, that's the California schools, the Oregon schools, the Washington
West
schools.
Coast.
Yeah, Arizona's in there.
Okay, wow.
I don't think we can talk about them like we do the SEC or the Big 12. Oregon obviously is a great football program. I think USC has had their years, not really recently. But yeah, you got the Pac-12. The ACC is huge right now.
The ACC is big
because you've got Clemson. But here's the deal: the ACC, they're more of a basketball school because Clemson obviously is fantastic.
Shout out Tommy Townsend.
But Clemson is one of the only schools in the ACC that is really dominant right now because you've got Florida State. There was a time, especially during the Jameis Winston years, when Florida State was good. You got Duke, not a football school. North Carolina, not a football school. Syracuse, not a football school. Virginia Tech, Virginia, they were football schools at one point, but they're not right now. So, and this is another reason I don't like the Final Four format in the college football playoff. You look at Clemson, who's an ACC school, a Division I, program, and you say, "Oh wow, they went undefeated." And now Notre Dame's a part of the ACC. They didn't used to be, and Notre Dame actually had a.
Let me stop you. We're getting chaotic, and I want to make it very reasonable to follow. If you were just listening, go ahead, because you're about to get in the Final Four, right? How
yeah.
You hate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get the rest of them out of the way. You said SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
What are the last ones we're missing?
That's really your big
what is
market
NCAA?
Programs. Well, the NCAA. The Missouri Valley is NCAA. Missouri Valley is like Missouri State, Drake, Chicago, Loyola. You can be a part of the NCAA. There's NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3. Now the Missouri Valley is Division 1, but those are what I call small market schools.
Okay, so there's all of those conferences. So already right there for the average Joe like me who just got into this, it's super difficult for me to follow.
Yeah.
So I know I'm very interested in about your Final Four theory. So before we get to that, just to address it, do you have to be in the same conference for one sport as you do another?
So, no, unless it's changed recently. So Notre Dame is a prime example. So Notre Dame used to be a part of the ACC in basketball, but they were independent in football. That's recently changed. Notre Dame has recently brought their football program in the ACC, but you can, I'm trying to think of another good example.
Is Alabama's basketball team also SEC?
Yes,
okay,
they are.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. You can. It's kind of a gray area. A lot of schools have done it. Notre Dame is the most recent example of one that does it. It's not very common. You don't see that a lot. I think Wichita State, I'm actually a big Wichita State fan. I think they do that because their basketball team is a part of the ACC, or excuse me, AAC, the American Conference, excuse me. But their baseball team, and they don't have a football team right now, but their baseball team, softball team, I think they're still a part of the Missouri Valley, which plays like Missouri State, Drake, Chicago Loyola, Northern Iowa, schools like that, which are Division I, but it's a smaller market program. So, if you want to go ahead and branch off into my Final Four deal,
right. Okay.
So the way they pick those four schools. So if you don't know, and I'm gonna break it down for you. So used to it was the BCS National Championship, and your 1 through 25 schools was a committee list. A committee would sit down and say, okay, Alabama has beat LSU, they've beat Florida, they've beat Auburn. We're gonna put them at number 1. And then, here's Florida State, they've beat Clemson, they beat Notre Dame. We're gonna put that at number 2, and they still do that, but back then, if you weren't a number 1 and number 2 school, you couldn't play for a national championship. And so there were schools that were, 3, 4, 5, and 6 seed school or 6 ranked schools that had the same record as your 1 and 2 ranked schools. And they're like, well, I don't play in the SEC, I play in the ACC. Why am I not competing for a national championship? So they implemented this Final Four deal. I hate it. I hated it ever since they got into it. And the main reason, the first year they did that, they brought in 4 schools. Baylor and TCU was the 5 and 6 schools. Those schools had the same ranking as the 3 and 4 seed schools. So here's the deal. You want to implement this Final Four because you think people are getting screwed out of chances to play for a national championship. And you know what? In some ways, maybe they are. But then here's the deal. You implement 4 teams, you're still screwing more teams. So this is my deal. And I've been a big fan of this, and I can pull it up on my phone if you want to see it, kind of draw it out. I recently saw a format idea that takes 16 teams, and they play it kind of similar to the NFL does.
From any conferences.
Any conference, as long as you're ranked.
How do you make one of those 16 teams?
Just have good records.
Okay, so it's record.
Yeah, just have a good record. But this is how they do it now. You have to have what they call like signature wins. You know, if you're Notre Dame, you have to beat Clemson, or you didn't have a signature win because everybody else you played wasn't a quality school.
Right. If you're 10-0, but you're in the ACC, you didn't beat fucking anybody.
Right.
They might not let you in.
Yes.
Even though there might be a team that's 5-6.
Yes.
In the okay.
Well, now you'll never see a team with 5 and 6 in the playoffs.
I'm just being a little
right. No, I understand
hyperbole.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but if they implement this 1 through 16 format, there you've just solved the problem. There'll be schools that's like, hey, you know, we were 10-0, we didn't really play anybody, but guess what? You're number 16. You can still play for a national championship. And here's the deal: if you're the sixth, I'm going to pick on UCF for a little bit. You know, UCF, they were I don't even know what conference they're part of. Not a very well thought of conference. I don't know how else to say it. And they went undefeated multiple years. And they were, I believe, the only team that went undefeated that year. They did not play for a national championship. Alabama and who did Alabama play that year? It's irrelevant now. But anyway, the point is they were not in the national championship. And they're like, hey, we are national champions. We are the only Division I college football team that went undefeated. And I think they were ranked 10th maybe at the time. I don't remember. But they went to their bowl game and played Auburn. And Auburn was, I think, 11th ranked at the time. And I think Auburn had had 2 or 3 losses that season. Auburn crushed them. I don't remember what the final was, but it was like 56-10. Like, they just slaughtered them.
Jesus.
So then here you've got this team that's beating their chest saying, hey, we're national champions. We went undefeated. But then you're losing to a school that if you're a national championship team, you should have beat in your bowl game. I don't remember, like the Gator Bowl, or I don't remember what the bowl game was. It wasn't a major bowl game. But, you know, I think if you implement that format, that playoff format of 16 teams, not as many schools will be bitching because they're not given an opportunity to play. And 2, if you can go from the 16th seed and make it all the way to championship and win, you truly are a national champion. So I think Alabama could have done this, but I mean, it's just my opinion. But I mean, if you are playing that many playoff games and still, you know, and you're winning, I mean, how can anyone argue you? So like this year, Notre Dame was the 4th seed and Clemson was the 2 seed in the college football playoff this year. Well, Clemson and Notre Dame lost to each other. That was their only regular season losses, was to each other. And a lot of people were upset because they're like, you know, why does Notre Dame – so Notre Dame beat Clemson in regular season play. They go to the ACC championship, and Clemson beat Notre Dame. So they just traded wins. And then everyone's like, Texas A&M was really pissed about this. Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher was the school that was really spun out about this. They're like, we didn't get a chance to play in our conference championship. Why are we not in this championship game? Because like I said, Notre Dame, they lost their championship game. And so now you got Texas A&M, they're bitching up a storm. Why are we not included? And I'm telling you, if we expand this Final Four format, it'll just make everything. Even if you add 8 teams, it's still going to be more entertaining than 4.
Why would it not be way more teams? Because okay, let me just translate for MMA to try to draw a conclusion. We have this fucking conversation all the time, and this you can fix. But there's a guy over in one championship who fights in Singapore only, but he's fucking 28-0.
Yeah.
And then you have a guy in the UFC who's 26-0. They can't fucking fight because the promoters.
Gotcha.
That's almost what you're fucking describing. And so we never really know who's the best. Obviously, the UFC, they're like the SEC.
Right.
The best fucking fighters, hands down, are in the UFC. And they will usually win against any other fighters. Their champions will beat any other champions. But I would like to have a format which is almost kind of what you're describing, a delusional world, but where you could have, like, I don't see, and another thing too is saturation, is which kind of I wanted to address with you. If we start allowing other conferences the opportunity to be in this championship, and you have somebody who's 10-0, but they're from a shitty conference, and they end up winning the whole thing, now we're going to see less saturation of these SEC schools, and we're going to get better players into these other conferences.
100%. And that's just one bonus to the entire plan that I'm not the only one that's thought of this. I'm part of groups on Facebook. People get on and bitch about this kind of stuff every day. Like, there's a lot of people in this world that would love to see that happen. So this is not just something that I came up with overnight. Like, this is something that has been thought of, and you know, people are working on it. But exactly, that is one thing that it's going to happen. So, I mean, let's take trying to think of a good example. Let's take SMU in Dallas. They're a part of the American Conference. The American Conference is not historically known as a football conference. They're a great basketball conference, but they're not known as a football conference. So let's say SMU, they went 10-0 or whatever, and they make it to the 16-team playoff, and say they're a 7 seed or whatever. It don't really matter at this point, but they go deep and win. They are truly the national champions. You don't have this, UCF, University of Central Florida years ago. It's like, oh well, we're the national champion. We're the only D1 school that went undefeated. You don't have that problem anymore. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, all of a sudden, people want to play in the American Conference. There's not just a line of people to play for the SEC. And there are so many transfers of people wanting to leave the SEC because as high school students are like, yeah, I can play in the SEC. They go to the SEC, they don't get play time, and they're like, well, I guess I'll go to the American Conference or something of that nature. And I think there would be less movement as a whole because if you transfer, you got to take a year of ineligibility. I think if these schools would recruit people on that level, it would right now college football as a whole is monopolized. I mean, we look at Alabama, we look at Ohio State, we look at Clemson, Notre Dame, it's a monopoly. They have every recruit they want. They can literally they are the be all end all of sports. If they
want them, they got them.
If they want them, they got them. And if we see a 16-team format like I just brought to you, that goes out the window.
And it would give other conferences teams negotiation power, which they do not have right now.
100%.
So these people that are in these lower ranked schools, they might have players that are just as good, or they could.
Yeah.
But they won't because the player's not going to go
because
there.
You're not going to do anything if you go to that school. So
Right.
So you make it to a bowl game. Your bowl game is going to be the Alamo Bowl, which there's nothing wrong with winning the Alamo Bowl, but is it a national championship? Is it an Orange Bowl? Is it a Rose Bowl? I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying if you go to a school like that, you're not going to have a successful career because chances are you might, but it doesn't matter how well you play, how many games you win, you're not going to be thought of in a Final Four team.
And from what I've seen, bowl games are so overrated's not a good word, overlooked, not appreciated already. Bowl games are just nobody's like, oh, you want to come over the fucking Rose Bowl's on. Yeah. Some people do.
Right.
But if you're in a lower level bowl game,
Excuse me.
You really aren't shit.
Yeah.
So I almost think we need to reconstruct the amount of bowl games that we have.
I think that's a good idea. I would definitely be on that, and I think a lot of other people would.
Maybe miniature 8-team championships, miniature.
I think that's a good start.
And
or
then,
even 6 team. I think 6 teams would be a good start. You give your 1 and 2 seed the first week off, kind of like we do in the NFL.
Right.
I think even 6 teams would be good. 6 teams would be good. 8 teams would be good. 12 teams would be good. Like, it doesn't matter how you expand it, just the fact that it needs to be expanded. And here's the deal. When they first implemented this, and I believe it was 2014 was the first year they implemented this, people were saying it then. And over time, people have kind of got away from saying it. And I have been the one, and not that my opinion really matters, but for the last several years, I'm the one who's been like, guys, we are not doing this right. There are so many better ways we could draw this up to make it more fun. Because here's the deal. I'm not going to say the Final Four format or the college football playoff is not entertaining, because it is. But I'm saying it could be so much more entertaining.
It could be more entertaining, it could be better, and it could be more fair. And
100%.
Fair is the number one thing.
100% it is, yeah. I definitely agree. And that's something a lot of, especially in college football, people forget. You look at the fair aspect of it and they say, well, you don't play in the Big 10, you don't play in the Big 12, you don't play in the SEC. Well, is it really fair? Well, no, because you're not in those conferences,
So, have you tried calling the colleges yourself? It's just this is fucking Gabe Noble, and I watch a lot of fucking college.
I mean, I do, and
this is how I think I should do it.
I mean, literally, like, it comes down to
just fucking with you.
Well, and I know, but when they first implemented this program, they had a committee that picked the Final Four teams. Well, I don't know if you remember, but they had all kinds of people on this committee. Condoleezza Rice was on this committee. I mean, just like all kinds of people that it's like.
Did you ever play that computer game?
Which one?
It was like old. We were probably in 6th, 7th grade.
Oregon Trail?
No. And you get on, and you George Bush was in it.
Oh, no,
and you would try to protect the Capitol building or the White House, and you could play as Condoleezza Rice. and you would have 2 Uzis.
Oh crap! I can't
Dude,
believe
I'll have to pull this up later. But sorry,
like
go
fun.
ahead. So Condoleezza Rice is on this committee?
Yeah, Condoleezza Rice was on this committee. I don't know if she still was, but she was when they first implemented this. And nothing against Condoleezza Rice. Is she a football expert? I mean, if we want to talk about foreign policy, she's your girl, or is she? I don't know. It depends on what side of the realm you're on. That's a different deal. But, I mean, just the way they organize that committee, the way I'm kind of beating a dead horse because me sitting here complaining about it's not going to change anything. But I'm sitting here saying the way they organized it, the way they do it, the way they execute it, it could be done so much better. And I think the playoff idea was a great idea. Don't get me wrong. When they went away from the BCS National Championship to the College Football Playoff, I thought that was a fantastic idea. But when I realized there was only 4 teams, I was like, what's the point? There's no point. I mean, that's just how I feel about it, man. And like I said, even if you expand it to 6 teams, 8 teams, it doesn't matter. It just needs to be expanded. I'd like to see a 16-team format. But
pull this sucker down just a bit. There you go. Can't see your beautiful face.
It's my first time on there.
So, okay, so what would you okay, you like the 16-team idea.
I do.
How do you think that they reconstruct what they have now? If they said, hey, Gabe Noble, we're putting you in fucking charge, baby. I want you, what's your first steps? How do you introduce your strategy?
Well, here's the deal.
Is it something that can be done?
I break out a piece of paper and an ink pen and start drawing brackets.
Okay.
That's it, man. And then you take your 1 through 16 teams, which we got right here. You take your 1 through 16 teams, and you just start plugging them in. Your 1 seed, your 2 seed, your 3 seed, your 4 seed, and all the way down. And it's just like in basketball. This is a basketball setup, obviously, but just like in basketball, your 1 seed plays your 16 seed. Your 2 seed plays your 15 seed, all the way down. So that way, if you have teams like SMU, we're picking on SMU, it's kind of irrelevant who we pick on, but if SMU, who's a 16 seed, beats Alabama, who's a number 1 seed, then guess what? They beat the next seed and the next seed and the next seed. Guess what? They're in the national championship. How can you argue that they're the national champion?
Right. Okay, so you think it's something that could be done with the switch of a button?
100% I do. I think it could be implemented, maybe not this next season, just per contracts, but in the 2022 season, I think we can see it.
Is there any, from the sports world in the college, with the professionals, with the people who are in charge, are they even thinking about reconstructing?
Man, I don't know. When it was first implemented, there were a lot of people upset, and it was because they left Baylor and TCU out that first season because they had the same record. And so this year with Texas A&M raising a stink, I think if somebody to answer your question, no, I've not heard that it is in the works again. But if Texas A&M wanted to raise enough of a stink, they could probably make something happen. But here's your problem: you got to look and see who's dying on your hill for you. And Jimbo Fisher, he's kind of a whiny little bitch anyway. So if he goes in and starts throwing a fit, they're going to be like, okay, Jimbo, okay. But if you get the right person to argue for you, I think it's something that could be done. But like I said, to answer your question, I've not heard it recently other than teams like Texas A&M being pissed off that they are taken out. So all the talk I hear is of teams who are like, oh, this isn't fair. I've yet to hear anyone who's anybody in the sport say, we're not doing this right. Like I said, when it was first implemented, you heard it all the time. When this first happened, you turn on Sports Center or the Dan Patrick Show, it didn't matter. People were bitching about it. And they bitched about it for a good couple, 3 seasons. But it's like anything else. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. And now it is what it is.
Now the talk is slim to none on changing it. From the people that matter. And when I say that, I don't mean, obviously the fans are number one, really. But
right.
From the people that matter, like the mainstream media, the people who are professionally obligated to promote or be the media for these sports, from those types of people, you have not seen a productive interest or a productive activity in attempting to reconstruct the playoff.
Not in a good 5 years, I haven't.
Wow. That's horrible.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's not talked about, because it very well could be, but it's not talked about in a mainstream, sighting like it was when it first happened. No, I haven't heard anyone who's anybody in college football say anything about it in a good 5 years. But to be fair, doing what we do, it's harder to pay attention, in our career like it was, in 5 years ago when we were, just fresh out of high school and, had nothing but better things to do with our time. But
you would see the media.
Oh, it'd be headline
You would
news.
see the news. Yeah, if they were
100%
like,
it
hey,
would.
this person's unhappy and he's a commissioner for this type of school.
Right.
He's speaking out about how it's unfucking fair.
And I think if the commissioners got together, your SEC commissioner, your ACC commissioner, your Big 10, your Big 12, all your commissioners got together and they said, look, guys, what we are doing is not working. I think it would be as easy as that. Everybody get together. And what I don't understand is why these little schools like the American Conference, but not that the American Conference is a little school, we're going to talk about here in a minute. They are a great basketball conference, but when it comes to football, they don't have what it takes to be competitive. I don't understand why these little market conference commissioners are not kicking in the doors of the college football officials. I don't get it.
Okay, so from the coach's aspect, they are passion, they are love, they are drive, and they are legacy, the coaches.
Right.
But from the higher-ups, the people who are really in charge of this bracket, the people who could make the decisions, you know what it spells when you can get other people active? So if I can get the best fucking team from the ACC, the best team from the fucking SEC, the best team from the NCAA, if I can get the best team from every conference and I can put them in a fucking all-out mega 16 bracket, and even if there's multiple teams from the SEC, whatever.
Yeah.
What's that spell, Noble? It spells fucking money.
Yeah.
And why these people don't want to make more money makes no fucking sense to me. It's more intense when you have the guy, the best team from every division, rather than the 4 best teams from one division.
Yeah.
Nobody on the fucking planet is going to argue that it's going to be less exciting if we start bringing in people who, because then what do you get? You get fucking upsets.
Yeah.
And upsets are fucking exciting.
Oh, 100% they are.
And
you know how many people in this world would love to see SMU beat Alabama? A lot of people. A lot of people.
People would like to see a miniature, like a mini conference, one that's the little brother come up and win a fucking championship.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see.
100%.
That's how you get more casual fans, and more casual fans bring more fucking money.
Yeah.
And that's what these colleges are about. They're about fucking money.
Well, and I'm really glad you brought this up, because this is something that I actually want to talk about with you today. So money, I mean, if you don't have money, your school's not going to do anything. And you got these top market programs. Your universities are spending millions of dollars on these football programs, basketball programs. It doesn't matter. They're sports programs in general, millions of dollars. And so I don't understand, like you say, if we expand this, more games, more TV time, more money. And it blows my mind, like I said earlier, that no one is I'm pretty sure we're the only ones today having this conversation, Noah. And it's sad.
I mean, you know for sure that there's at least about 25 to 30,000 men who beat their wives who are drinking Busch Light on the couch right now who are also having this conversation.
100% they are.
Honestly, those are the people that need to be on the commission. Yeah, I
I
don't get it, man, but I also, this is, everything that I know is from my basic understanding from my buddies who have got me into college, and then from you when I've talked to you about this. I really have not been in the game long enough to grasp why they couldn't do it, and I'm one of those people that I would love to. So let me ask you, can you give me a good reason, if you had to, of why they would not do the 16 bracket?
Yeah, so
Playing devil's advocate?
The best I could probably say is your schools like Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and I'll throw Alabama out there. They don't want that because there's more chances for an upset. There's more chances for a loss. So your big market schools. So let's look who's been in the Final Four last several years. It's been SEC schools, Big 12 schools, Big 10 schools, and a Pac-12 school. Those high market schools, you know how awful that would be for their organization if they lost to SMU. And I don't know why I'm picking on SMU. They're just easy to pick on. I have nothing against them, SMU, but could you imagine if the university
he got kicked out of there? He was trying to be a lineman, did not go his way.
Yes, I was drunk in public. Anyway, it blows my mind. And so, but yes, I honestly think that that's what it is. your schools like Notre Dame and Clemson, they don't want to lose these small market programs.
And you did say monopoly earlier.
It is a monopoly.
So you think that it's primarily the reason is just monopoly, and that these schools want to retain their power
100%
in the power structure that it is.
100% I do. And if you were to ever ask one of their commissioners or coaches, you're not going to get that answer. But can you blame them, though, for not wanting to give you that answer? You know how shitty of a person they're going to look if they're like, well, no, I don't want to lose to SMU, or I don't want to lose to Florida Atlantic, or, I mean, Wyoming. Not to pick on Wyoming, Kemp, but Wyoming.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something crazy, and it's probably because I've had a couple whiskeys. This is the most random fucking parallel, but it's almost like nobody can be honest anymore. I don't think anyone would have a problem if the commissioner came out and said, hey, I would like to maintain power. I'd like to maintain control of the structure here, and I would like all the best players to come to Bama so I can continue
this
getting
monopoly
money.
we have. Yep.
Same thing with people like with taxes when they discuss taxes. Oh, we need to tax the billionaires. Well, why can't people just be like, they probably don't want to be taxed.
Right.
And they're like, hey, guys, I don't really want to, but I can see your point. If we just started with honesty we get so much fucking farther.
Well, and like I said, I'm really glad you brought up the money aspect of it, because I think money is the driving factor in all sports programs. And it also, I mean, it comes down to, you look at these small market programs and their universities are paying them, their organizations are paying $1 million to play football. They're not paying $1 million to play football for losses. They want to pay that money to win.
Right. Yeah.
And it comes back to, coaches get fired. Big NCAA Division I coaches get fired every year. And they can be fantastic people. They can have their kids' best interest at heart. They can be there for their communities, but if they're not winning ball games, why is the university going to pay them?
They're not. The university is fucking heartless. They don't give a fuck.
100%.
They want to win fucking games.
Yeah, 100%. And, I've often thought of that. I mean, like, it's sad that we live in a day and age where, a coach can be a phenomenal person and do more for his kids than any other coach in the league. But if he's not winning ball games, it's time to pack his bags.
Okay, so we're already on money, so let's just fucking get to it. This is one thing that I've never understood as a casual fan, and still don't to this day understand, even as I dive deeper into this. We kind of looked this up, and I'm, again, I don't want to put you on the spot saying you understand it completely, but can you explain recruitment bonuses, maybe the history of people getting in trouble,
right? Yeah,
and what California is trying to do?
So recruitment scandals is one of my favorite topics. I love it. I don't know why, but I love it. And if you look at the coaches involved in recruitment scandals, that's one thing I love the most. So I'm going to read some facts real quick about this California law that they're trying to implement. So basically what it's saying is athletes can profit from their name. So a university is not paying them to play football. If they're on the cover of a Wheaties box, they get that money from it. And from what I understand, this law doesn't go into effect January 1st of 2023. And from what I understand, the NCAA is threatening to ban California schools from play, because if you think about this law is everything that the NCAA is against. The NCAA for years has been like, we're not paying these kids. These kids are going to school for free to play football. That's their payment. Which I'm 100% neutral on this. If you want to start paying kids, start paying kids. If you don't, you don't. I really don't have an opinion on it. But so basically what this law is saying is, say you're coach of UCLA. You can't go to a player and say, I'll give you $50,000 to play for my football program. But if that kid comes to your school and wins a Heisman Trophy and is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, he makes that money.
And he doesn't right now?
No.
How can they stop you? So if I'm fucking Gabe Noble and I go out there and I get so famous from being such a good college player that people are making fucking t-shirts, jerseys, they're putting me on covers of fucking magazines.
Yeah.
How can I not get the profit? How the hell can someone cock block my profit? And I just don't fucking get it. I understand not paying them because they're going to school for free.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I understand it.
Right.
But how in the heck can a school intercept funds from somebody from an outset? Because I can go make a t-shirt right now. If I'm a company, I can go make a t-shirt and sell it. Mm-hmm. And I can make profit off of you, Noble.
Yeah.
and somehow you don't get any of that profit.
Correct. And
Does the school collect?
So if you are a collegiate athlete and somebody sells your T-shirts, there's no law, like legal law, saying you can't accept that money. But if you do accept that money and the NCAA finds out about it, they take action against you and your school. So you could take money if you wanted to, but then are you going to gamble on getting you and your program in trouble? You know, which that happens a lot. I mean, we're getting ready to talk a little bit about how John Calipari's program has gotten in trouble, and Rick Pitino's program got in trouble years ago, and Pete Carroll at USC. It happens. It happens, but I mean, these, and I want to take a rabbit trail on recruitment. I think this is a perfect time for it. So I don't think it is fair to punish these kids for accepting money to play football or basketball anywhere, because a lot of these kids grew up in poverty-stricken neighborhoods who have never seen this kind of money. So me, I grew up in rural Missouri. My dad was a truck driver and a farmer, and so was his dad. And we grew up pretty poor. And if somebody would have came to me and said, Gabe, I'm going to give you $50,000 to play football for me. Yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that $50,000. And these kids are just that. They're kids. So at the time, being an 18-year-old kid, I may know in the back of my head this isn't right. I probably shouldn't take this money. But you know what? I'm still going to do it because I don't have any money. And so and I was talking to my barber about this today. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't punish these kids in these programs, but I'm saying the way they do it is not right. So you are a coach. You pay me $50,000 to go to school for you. And we go a few years without getting caught. And after I graduate, we get caught. And so now your program gets suspended for 4 years from postseason play. I'm not even at the school anymore. But guess what? You guys still can't go to a bowl game. You guys still can't go to a college football playoff or go to the tournament, the NCAA basketball tournament. And I don't think it's fair because you can't, if I could imagine being 18 years old and somebody rolling up in my driveway with a Mercedes-Benz tailored suit and championship rings, and me in my, overalls whipping out a $50,000 check and being like, no, I can't take that. They're kids, man. I mean, of course they're going to take that.
And you got to think that they've never seen their parents have that type of money. And a lot of these kids, that's all they want is to provide for their families.
Right.
Because they know that, my dad and mom, they used to work fucking 2 jobs just to get me to practices, just to buy me a new set of gloves.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to play college ball. I've almost made it, and they know they've almost made it. And they know if they can make that one more step, they can provide for their families who have done so much for them. So for them to be able to do something in the intermediate time, like accept some money. If I get kicked out, at least my parents have some money.
Right.
And they don't
some
understand.
kids have that mentality about it.
And some people don't understand that $50,000 isn't shit.
Right.
So they're getting abused both ways.
Yeah.
Not only are they accepting money and then getting in trouble for it, and the school's getting in trouble for it, but they're accepting money that is so minuscule.
Right.
But these recruiters are like, $50,000.
And man, it's crazy because when I was coming up, man, the only thing a recruiter had to do was get you a hooker and a dancing girl. And guess what? You played football for that university. And which really, if you think about it, is genius on a recruiter's part, because who are the horniest people in the world? 18-year-old boys. And this 18-year-old boy's like, wait a minute. I can have sex with this girl and all I got to do is play football for you? Let me sign right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what got Pete Carroll in trouble. He was buying his recruits hookers and things of that nature.
Shout out Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I would love to play for Pete Carroll.
But I mean, now we're in a day and age where that's not going to win recruits anymore. And so now when you've got a kid, basketball, football, it doesn't matter, being recruited by literally every major university, what are you going to offer this kid that the next person can't offer? And
It's going to be hard to find something.
Right. And I'm not saying that I condone, recruitment discrepancies. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying it's almost not fair, which at the end of the day it is. It is a humongous gray area. Because I say it's not fair to punish these kids, but at the end of the day it's a rule, and these kids did break this rule. So there should be some form of punishment. But you can't blame these kids for doing it. I mean, these kids that grew up with nothing are now driving new Mercedes, and, they freaking, they don't want for anything, because guess what? They got it now.
Well, and another thing, too, is that if you're talking about a kid who has the drive and the ability to play professional sports, or the possibility to play, those people have the same drive that they want everything that professional players have.
100%.
So you're exploiting.
Yes.
You're giving them something early, knowing that you can exploit their end goal.
Yeah.
You know, these people who have the drive to play professional sports, they have the drive to want everything that anyone has ever had.
Yep. 100%, man.
Is there a legal way right now, as it stands, or not even legal to accept money, but what can you accept from a college legally?
Well, that's a hard question because honestly, I don't know what a college could offer you other than free tuition that would be considered out of line. So I read Bo Jackson's book called Bo Knows. It's a phenomenal book. I'm not much of a reader, but if you are, Bo Knows is a fantastic read. I actually have it at the house if you want to read it. But in Bo Knows, Bo is living in Bessemer, Alabama, which is kind of a Birmingham suburb, and he's being recruited by Alabama and Auburn. And basically, the reason Bo Jackson, so Bessemer, Alabama is closer to Tuscaloosa. Bo Jackson grew up being a Alabama fan because Bear Bryant was coach at the time, which Bear Bryant's the GOAT, except for Nick Saban, of course. And Bo Jackson wanted to play at Alabama, but Bear Bryant's like, well, you know, we've got a stable of running backs. You probably won't start till your junior or senior year. Auburn comes and they're like, hey, you're starting day one. Like, we don't care. Like, you're it. And Bo Jackson's like, well, I want to start. I want to play, so of course I'm going to go to Auburn. And that was kind of how Bo Jackson, really Bo Jackson's the first person I've ever heard that made his decision based off of a promise of playing time. But I think that is something that colleges can offer that, you know, hey, you know, if you come here, you're going to start day one. If you go over here to Alabama, you may never start, you know. And I think as lame as that sounds and as you know, I mean, to me, I mean, what's that saying? You know, I mean, that I think that is a lame thing to negotiate with a kid, but at the end of the day, that's really all they have. You know, they can't pay him.
Yeah, it's playtime. But you don't know of anything where I can't be a recruiter and say, hey, Gabe Noble, I can give your parents a vehicle.
Yeah, they can't do that, man.
They can't do anything.
Nope.
Okay, so then let's get into the California law.
They still can't. All the California law states is that if you are on the cover of a Wheaties box or something along that lines, you can profit from it.
It has nothing to do with gifting.
Yeah, that you still cannot receive money, cars, whatever from this California law. Like, it's still, like, literally you have to, you know, make it, like I said, if you get on a Wheaties box, cover a magazine, sell a jersey. That's the only way you can profit from this California law.
You know what grinds my gears about this is that these kids, there's no fucking way that they're doing their math homework. There's no fucking way that they're doing their English homework.
Right.
There's no way in hell that these college football players who need, not should, to be able to compete, they need to be working out twice a day.
Yeah.
And the other part of their day is studying.
Well, and
studying plays,
yeah.
Not studying their college fucking math book.
Oh, I agree.
Not studying their English book.
Yeah.
The other part of their day needs to be looking at film and tape.
Yes.
So they cannot miss their small window of athletic opportunity to make it to professional sports.
Right.
So they can show out in college enough to make it to professional sports.
Yes.
So they can use that opportunity, not trying to do geometry.
Yeah.
Using that time to say, okay, if I can show as a defensive player, and think about how hard it is to make it as a defensive player.
Yeah, it's hard work.
You're a lineman. There's fucking 9,000 linemen.
Yes.
Okay? If you're a lineman and you can take your whole 8 hours of free day that you have and watch some tape and make some plays this next Saturday during your college game, just a minuscule amount of tape where someone says, holy crap, not only can that guy play, not only is he a physical specimen, he studied the tape and he used that tape to make a play, and the NFL saw that, and now they're going to give this guy an opportunity.
Right.
Instead of doing geometry,
yeah, dude,
or learning the difference between there, and there,
yeah, dude,
fuck off.
I could not agree more. I think kids need to worry on that level. They need to worry more about their plays and learning their offenses and defenses and what their program expects out of them than doing their English homework. I could not agree more. And I'm really glad you brought that up because that's something that I have felt for a long time. I don't think that you should force kids to go to class during football season because how can they focus on being – they have to pick one. I'm either going to be a great, academic athlete, or I'm going to be a great athletic athlete. What am I going to do here? And everybody who's playing collegiate football, they want to be a great athlete. They don't have. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I cannot agree more. I think, and if you look at schools, like a lot of people know this, Harvard has a football team. Yale has a football team. But guess what? They care more about academics than they do.
I've never seen Yale or Harvard on TV.
You never will.
You might as well get rid of that. Nobody goes to Yale or Harvard to play fucking ball.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's because they focus more on academics than they do athleticism. So nobody who's anybody as an athlete wants to play at these schools because they know, well, I'm never going to go anywhere because I have to learn my geometry. I can't learn my plays.
Right.
Dude, I have argued that forever. I do not think it is fair to cram any kind of academics down. And now, don't get me wrong. They should go to class. I'm not saying that, but they need to do it in their off seasons when they are playing football.
Maybe a basics class. If you're going to go play football and you're going to try to be something, you should be given the option, at least. Yeah. At the very minimum, you should be given the option. Hey, Noah. Hey, Gabe. You guys are great football players. You guys are great basketball players. So you need to discuss with your family if you would like to attempt to graduate with a bachelor's degree in something, or if you are 100% committed to sports, we'll allow you to go down a second route. And this second route will allow you to take basic classes to make sure that you know what to do for your future.
Right.
Basic math classes to ensure that you know how to go fucking cash a check.
Yeah.
Basic math classes to know that you know how to do taxes when you graduate.
Bro,
basic classes that you know how to cook.
Yep.
How about we're going to give you life skills, but that's going to allot you much more time to study and do what you think that you have a opportunity to do, and that's be something of the 1% that make it to professional sports.
Right.
There needs to be two routes of engagement.
Yeah.
The issue with that, though, is if you do have somebody who's a freak, an absolute freak who can do both. He can get all A's in his classes, and he can be a professional athlete. How about that doctor on the Chiefs?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can be that guy, you're probably going to get a lot of – if you're that guy and you think you can do that, well, then I guess it's not a problem, because if I'm a guy and I say, okay, I'm going to go get my bachelor's degree, but I'm also going to try to play ball, and you're not good enough at ball, I guess they just don't play you.
Right. And
that's not – the team won't be mad at you for that.
And I think every collegiate athlete should capitalize on their education, because here's the deal. Only a small percentage of them make it in the pros. So I don't know what that percent is. I want to say 4 or 5% maybe. That may not even be right. But my point is of your 60-some man roster, 80-some man roster, only 5 of them may make it in the pros. So what are the rest of those kids going to do that devoted their entire lives up till now until sports? They have to have something to fall back on, because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to make it pro.
And if they don't make it, a lot of time it's not their own fault. You might be the best player in the world, but you get a chain of injuries.
Right.
That doesn't allow you to make it when you could have if you didn't get those injuries. They almost need a satellite college where maybe you do half the amount of work now, so that way you're not tied up in classes and homework.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed to use your tuition that you were given to play ball later on.
Yeah. No, dude, I could not agree more. I've often said that these kids do not need to be worrying about their freaking English homework. They need to learn how to play ball. Mm-hmm. So I think that's great. I'm really glad we brought that up, because that's something that I've often thought about. Because here's the deal, man. If you are that, let's take Bo Jackson for example. Do you think anybody cares that Bo Jackson knows trigonometry or geometry?
They don't give a flying fuck.
Nobody gives a flying fuck. But you know what we do care about? Bo Jackson was a phenomenal fucking athlete. But here's the deal. Not everybody can be Bo Jackson. So if you're not Bo Jackson, you need to look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm not Bo Jackson. I need to go to school and learn. But, hey, let's take a look at some of these, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, Justin Fields. These kids don't need to be worrying about how to spell there.
No, they need to be banging broads and playing footballs.
Yes, because that's what's going to make these kids' lives. They're not going to do anything with their English degree. They're going to play football for a living.
Right. Or coach.
Yeah.
They're going to do something outside of
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. And I'm really glad we had this conversation, because I've been saying this for years. And it's kind of a we've been talking about some kind of controversial things when we get into like recruitment scandals and stuff, but it's stuff that people are afraid to stand up and say. You're never going to hear, a big time college commentator. You're not going to get on the Dan Patrick show and Dan Patrick's going to be like, guess what? We don't care about academics anymore. No one's going to say that.
Never in your fucking life will they be able to be honest and say that.
Right. And it comes back to what you were saying earlier, honesty, or being honest about it. You think Jalen Waddle's going to do anything with his fucking English degree? Not a fucking thing.
No. And first off, he couldn't because he didn't do his homework. He didn't fucking do that homework. Someone else did his goddamn homework,
100%.
okay?
Yeah.
He didn't fucking do his homework.
Right.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Deontay Smith, he doesn't know how to do 2 plus fucking 2.
Yep.
Okay? And that's not disrespecting him.
No.
I'm just saying he doesn't need to.
Right.
He doesn't fucking need to.
Well, and he's had more important things to worry about his entire life than that, learning the game of football, because that's what's going to carry him the rest of his life.
And I'm not saying I have to fucking preface this because you people are insane. I'm not saying he couldn't be a genius.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I don't even know him. I'm just saying that
He's a great guy. We played golf last week.
unless he wants to, he doesn't need to be worrying about anything but his fucking ball game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dude, 100. You're preaching to the choir, man. I've been saying this for years. And, dude, it's crazy because, like, you meet these Karens who are like, oh, well, they're going to school for free to play football. They need to get good grades. And, if you don't have above a C average, you can't play. Bullshit, man.
What are they getting? They're getting free money that's not even real.
Yeah, it's just going to the university.
The university
Yeah.
is. You know who paid for that guy's education?
We did. Taxpayers.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know who
100%.
else paid?
Who's that?
The other people that paid. The university didn't pay shit for this guy to go to college.
So basically what we're saying is if your kids go to any major university, you're paying for Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask to play football. That's basically what we're saying. But, yeah, dude, I'm really glad you brought that up because I've been saying that for a long time now.
Yeah, that's a joke. Okay, do you have any good, funny recruitment stories that you remember from over the years of watching? Anything that kind of made you giggle, like, my God?
Well, I guess Pete Carroll and his hookers is kind of
That's really funny.
Yeah, that's pretty savage on Pete Carroll's part. I mean,
what a genius. That guy's so old, too, and he looks so good.
And, like, Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino's doing the same thing.
Who was Rick Pitino?
Oh, he was a phenomenal basketball coach in the 80s and 90s, even early 2000s. Rick Pitino, he was the Kentucky GOAT before they signed John Calipari. So Rick Pitino, he was the head coach of Kentucky. He left Kentucky to go to, I believe it was the Philadelphia 76ers, and had a very rough time with the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't think they broke 500 while he was there. He's like, he pulls a Nick Saban. He's like, well, guys, I guess I'm not good at this whole pro thing. I'm going to go back to college. So Louisville signs him, which Louisville is a great basketball school. All of a sudden, he's in trouble at Louisville. You got hookers in the rooms.
Oh, God.
Which that wasn't the only thing. Pete Carroll and Rick Pitino both. I'm just picking on them because they are the most relevant to the hooker scandal. It wasn't just hookers. I mean, it was other things, man. They had hookers.
Cocaine.
They had coke,
heroin.
weed. Well, I don't know. Fuck, I hope not. But might have. Fuck, who knows?
Good rest.
They had all kinds of alcohol. I mean, they were throwing these kids real elaborate parties. They were taking these kids to strip clubs and shit. And like I said, dude, you can't blame these 17, 18-year-old kids for going, wait, we're going to a nudie bar? Are you sure?
The only thing about that, though, is, and I'm all for having fun.
Yeah.
I wish these kids had, like, a month where they could have as much fun as possible,
Right.
and then they go back to camp, which I kind of think is what the Chiefs do.
Yeah.
When you see these professional athletes and they win a championship, they try to have as most fun as they can in a month.
Yeah.
And I'm all for having a good time, having a drink, doing whatever you want to do. The problem is getting back on a straight line.
Yeah.
And it is difficult when you introduce that kind of shit to a teenager, an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, even a young 20-year-old.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To get them back on the straight and narrow. But maybe if it was facilitated better. Like, hey, guys, this isn't outlawed. You don't have to sneak this around. You guys got a month. I want you guys to go fucking party. I want you to have fun. We're going to bring girls in. They don't have to bring girls in. I understand that's disrespectful.
Yeah,
but girls who want to come in,
yeah.
They meet girls. They stay very polyamorous for a while. I don't see a problem with that as long as there's like, hey, guys, if you do this and you don't get back on the straight and narrow after we do this, just know we're going to cut your tuition.
Yeah.
We're going to cut your funding.
Right.
The shit that you did to get you to the dance, to be able to have this month of fun, you don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
And if they just fucking were honest about it, instead of having to hide people's guilty pleasures,
Yeah.
then people would be more successful.
I definitely agree, and I like I said, we're picking on Rick Pitino and Pete Carroll here for their hooker scandals, but there was so much more in those organizations at the time that was not right. Probably my favorite story is just the Cam Newton story in general. Just where he's like, fuck you, Mississippi State, I'm gonna take that money to the bank and you can get fucked. And hey Auburn, hey, I was just kidding, I'll take that money, and that's probably my favorite, just because. So a lot of people don't know this, and this is gonna blow your mind. So Cam Newton played 1 year at the University of Auburn. He was paid. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He was paid, and everybody knew it. So they go to Alabama that year to play the Iron Bowl, which I don't know if you know what the Iron Bowl is, but it's the last game of the regular season where Alabama and Auburn play each other. It's called the Iron Bowl, and it is probably one of the most epic college football games ever played, and they play it every year. So this particular year, they got to come to Alabama and play it.
So it's not a real bowl game? It's
No.
just what they. It's like
the
a
last game of the
nickname for
regular season. Yeah,
Whoa.
kind of like
and
the
it's
Bourbon Bowl.
always Alabama and Auburn.
Yep, that's what they call the last game of the year
Whoa.
when they play each other. So there was an individual, and I would love to know who it was because I'd love to buy him a steak dinner or play around and golf with him. But there was somebody who was in charge of the sound at the game, and he got fired, or she, whoever it was. To this day, I don't know who got fired because Cam Newton felt disrespected because they were playing songs like "Go On, Take the Money and Run." And they legit got fired, and like that was like, if I remember correctly, and it's been a minute since this happened, but when Cam Newton ran onto the field, that was the song they played, like "Go On, Take the Money and Run," and like, of course, you're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and all the Alabama fans are like, oh god, and yeah, this person got fired, and I'd really like to know who that was. If you know, hit us up because I'd really like to buy him a steak dinner and
That's great.
play around and golf with him. It was pretty epic.
Yeah. That guy works at Cerner now, for sure.
Well, we're glad to have him here in Kansas City.
Somebody that witty.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that was pretty crazy. That was probably my favorite. Just Cam Newton got really butthurt because he didn't like everybody calling out his bullshit, which at the time that's what it was. It was just you can't. I mean, if you're gonna take money from one school, you better go to that school and you better keep your fucking mouth shut because if something happens
And play your hardest.
yeah. Because if you don't, there was another guy at Alabama, and I can't remember his name. He did the same thing. Alabama paid him, and this was in the 90s. I wish I could remember his name. I can picture him. He was not at all good in the NFL. But he went to the media afterwards because he felt guilty. Fuck that guy. I wish I could remember his name, but if you're watching, fuck you, dude. I mean, 20 years later, you're going to go to the media and say, hey, guys, I feel guilty that I accepted. I think it was $30,000. I'm sorry I accepted this $30,000. I'm a piece of shit. I'm sorry.
Horrible amount.
Yeah,
money.
dude. Like, what a piece of shit. Like, one, you got away with it. And I'm not condoning what he did, but you got away with it, and the money's in your bank account. Shut the fuck up. Play football. That's what that money was there for you to play football. Shut the fuck up and play. Like,
fuck, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like I said, man, the whole Cam Newton deal and just the way they disrespected him when they went to the Iron Bowl was awesome. There was other songs I can't think of off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up later, but. Go On, Take the Money and Run was the biggest one, and they played it when Cam Newton ran out on the field.
That's so great.
And
smart, funny.
Dude, wasn't it, though? Like, the guy, dude, he has to work for Cerner because this dude's a fucking genius,
yeah,
dude.
that is great.
And that's probably one of my favorite.
That's next level humor.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
And, like, here's the deal, man. I really didn't think Cam Newton was smart enough to get the joke, but apparently he was because he got quite offended over it. It was a big deal. He was real butthurt. Yeah, the University of Alabama had to fire whoever was in charge of that at the time. And I would, like I said, I'd love to know where they're at. I hope to fuck they're the Chiefs fucking sound guy or something. Like, I'd love to know, man. Like, that person definitely deserves a fucking Nobel Peace Prize or some bullshit.
That's so great.
Yeah, it was epic.
So as we wrap up football here, because we got a lot to talk about basketball, did you see any implications, major changes to the season this year besides the COVID protocol? Was there anything that stood out to you that was so different this year?
Yeah, fuck you, Ohio State, for only playing 5 regular season games and going to the Final Four. Fuck you, Ohio State.
But that was kind of a COVID thing.
That was kind of a COVID thing, but going forward, I don't think that – because I was watching SportsCenter last night at work, and they've already announced so this year the thing they did different is you had to play – there was no non-conference play. If you were in the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, you had to play each other. That was – and the Big Ten was not going to play at all until Donald Trump, which I'm not making this up, Donald Trump went in and said, attention, Big Ten, you're playing football. And 100% look it up, man.
I brought Big Ten football back.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Some are going to say it's bigger than ever. It's going to be huge. But yeah, I mean, the Big Ten wasn't even going to play at all. So, but next year they've already announced non-conference games, so they're going to start playing non-conference games again. I really don't think going forward there's going to be any changes. I think everything that happened this season was kind of a fluke with COVID. I'm extremely salty that we weren't able to play the tournament this last year. I mean, that really fucking pissed me off. Really fucking pissed me off. And I'm still a little pissed about it, but yeah, dude, going forward, I think it'll be business as usual for the NCAA. I think they're kind of over the whole COVID shock, and the world's kind of learned how to live with it. And I don't think there'll be anything different going forward. Personally, I could be wrong, but
I think they'll want to play as many games as possible and sell as many tickets as possible, because think about all the stadium revenue that they missed out on.
Yeah, they missed out on a lot of money this year. I mean, I think the Bryant-Denny Stadium holds, I want to say 90,000, 80,000 people.
Those college stadiums are huge.
They are, but they're at less than half capacity, so they're not making money.
There's almost thousands of them probably that get packed out yearly. For these games.
Every Alabama game sells out. I mean, even schools that are trash like Tennessee, those games sell out. You know, I mean,
if you're a college of any sort, the game, like, hey, you going to the game? They're not talking about basketball.
They're talking about football.
They're talking about fucking football. You going to Friday Night Lights, baby?
Yeah.
In this case, Saturday Day Lights.
Same thing.
Same
I know
thing.
what you meant.
But yeah, you're going to the football game.
Yeah. 100%.
Nobody's going to the fucking basketball game.
And so I went to my first Mizzou game this last year. Well, excuse me, in 2019. It was November 2019, before COVID was a thing. And that was really an experience. We played Tennessee at home. And almost got a fight with an old man. That's quite a story. This old man pissed me off.
You did?
A fight with this old man. Yeah, this old man was being a fucking cocksucker. Anyway.
Was this the game with the kids?
Game with the kids.
The wife? Your friend who wanted to bring his kids?
Oh, yeah. This was the game. Yeah, so this old man. So okay, let me tell you the scenario, and let me see what you would do. So there's like a minute 50 to play. And Mizzou has the ball, and it's 4th and 4 at their own 20. Like I said,
what's the score?
They're down by 4. It's 20-24.
Okay.
There's 2 minutes left in the game. It's 4th and 4. Mizzou elects to punt. With 2 minutes left to play in this game, down by 4, Mizzou elects to punt. And the reasoning was, well, we're at our own 20-yard line. It's going to be a quick score if they do score. We're going to try and hold them to 3 and out. No. You're not holding them to fucking no. It's not happening. So they elect to punt. What does Tennessee do? They run out the clock. Well, I'd had a few adult beverages at this time, and I'm a little annoyed that I paid this much money to see Mizzou cop out like they did.
Not even try.
And so I made the comment something about, I said, well, that's kind of a chicken shit thing to do, because fucking the game's over. As soon as they punt that ball, as soon as that ball leaves that kicker's foot, the game's over.
Yep. You head to your car.
Yeah.
It's done.
Might as well pack it up. There's no way they're getting the ball back, and if they do, they're not going to have enough time to do shit. Well, this old man who was a season ticket holder, we were sitting in the middle of a season ticket holder block. This old man who was a season ticket holder turns around, and he gets in my face. He goes, well, what the fuck did you expect him to do? It's like, I don't know, go for it on 4th and 4 with 2 minutes left to go, down by 4. Are you fucking kidding me, partner? Like, dude, I was fucking pissed. This old man was like wanting to fight me because I was bitching that they punted. And I'm like, how the fuck are you not mad they punted? That was the silliest fucking thing I've ever seen. To this day, it's the silliest fucking thing I've ever seen. And you're mad? Like, really, dude? Come on, guy. Oh, I was fucking pissed, dude. Like, and then everybody was surprised when fucking Barry Odom got fired. Well, fuck me, Barry Odom should have got fired.
Was that the coach at the time?
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Like, that was the dumbest fucking move I think I'd ever seen at a sporting event ever. Now, here's the deal. If you go for it on 4th and 4 and you don't make it, it happens. It happens every day in college football. Football in general. But if you punt it with 2 minutes left to go,
you're not getting the ball back.
You're not getting the fucking ball back.
Unless Tennessee goes over, wipes the ball off, and hands it to you. You're not getting the fucking ball back.
All they had to do was get one first down, then take a knee. That's all they had to do. And you know what? They did it. Which I knew they were going to fucking do it, because Tennessee had no problem moving the ball all night. The only reason the score at the time was as close as it was is because Mizzou had got some big plays that just happened to come together. Some big, deep passes that somehow, some way, it just happened to work out. That's the only reason Mizzou was still in this game to begin with. Because Mizzou played a horrible game. Horrible game. And I was pissed because the tickets were fucking expensive. I mean, it was like fucking $250 for all of us to go.
And you had to drive down there.
And I had to drive down there. And, dude, I'm telling you, Like, this old man's like, he didn't get the fuck beat out of him because I was drunk and I was mad. Like, fuck you, dude. If you're watching, fuck you, you cocksucker. Fuck you. Yeah. I hope he's watching.
Take your season tickets and get the fuck out of here.
100%. Don't come back here.
You know what I would have done to that guy?
What?
I would have went while he was watching the last 2 minutes, and I would have went downstairs, bought him a beer, poured a goddamn gas station dick pill in it, and been like, I'm really sorry about that, man, and watched him keel over right in front of all these fucking fans. I mean, like, well, that's what I expect you to do. That's what I expected to do. Right. Is for you to keel over because you are a fucking moron.
Yeah, fuck that guy, dude. That was so stupid. I'll never forget having that argument with this old man. Like, how
old do you think he was?
70.
Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck that guy, dude. I can't even believe we fucking like. In the fact that we were having to have the conversation in the first place pissed me off because. There, in no situation is it okay to punt on 4th and 4, down by 4 on your own 20. Never is that okay. With 2 minutes left to go, never is that okay. In no scenario is that okay. You could not give me a single scenario.
You don't see that in professional sports, dumb fucks.
Never. I've never seen that before. And you know what? I'll probably never see it again. I hope to God I never fucking see it again. Next coach that does it should be fucking fired. 100% he should be fucking fired.
Speaking of coaches, one thing I wanted to ask you, and I hope you know the answer, is why do more college coaches not attempt to at least apply for professional sports jobs? A lot of them seem very, not sedentary, because I know college means a lot, and there's probably a lot more freedoms and less politics in college. I'm sure there's a lot of politics, but you're not in the mainstream of politics on TV and having to answer questions all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Why do more coaches not try to go to professional sports?
I'm a big fan of history repeats itself, and you got to look at all the college coaches that went to the NFL and had horrible NFL careers. I mean, Nick Saban, much as I love the guy, he had a horrible professional career. Charlie Wise, you remember Charlie Wise? Dude, Charlie Wise did not make it, and I think Pete Carroll's probably the best out of all of them that left the NCAA to go to the NFL and had success, because the Seahawks, I don't know how they are at the moment, but the Seahawks have had some success in the last 5-10 years, I think a lot of it is they've built their programs to how they wanted it, and it's working for them.
It's their baby.
It's their baby, and they don't want to walk away from that. And if you do walk away from it, it's so much uncertainty, because here's the deal. Like, sports in general is a what have you done lately for me game all the way around. So you go to a new program, and you may not have anything to do with this new program. You're taking over from this previous coach, and there's only so much you can do at one time, and you are not able to turn this program around in one season. All the fans are like, we fucked up hiring this guy. When in reality, did he really do anything? No. He was just given such short amount of time and such short resources to make this change, and now, fan bases hate him. I think it's just a lot of uncertainty. I think guys are afraid to make that step. And you know what? I kind of respect that in a way, because, I say I respect it in a way. I see both sides of it. I see, because the Oklahoma head coach, Lincoln Riley, is a perfect example. Dude, everyone thought he was going to be the next Dallas Cowboys head coach. Everybody thought he was. And I don't think he got hired, did he? Do you remember who the Cowboys hired? Great big guy.
I think they still have their coach from last year.
Yeah, I know.
What year is this?
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about when they fired Jason Garrett.
Where's Jason Garrett at now?
He's the assistant coach for the Giants.
Okay. Who did they hire? Cowboys hire?
Anyway,
I'll look it up.
It's irrelevant, but they had talked to Lincoln Riley at the time, and everybody thought Lincoln Riley, the Oklahoma head coach, because that year Oklahoma went to the Final Four, the college football's version of the Final Four, and lost to LSU, which LSU was a phenomenal team that year. And everybody thought, well, Lincoln Riley's going to go to the Cowboys. Lincoln Riley's going to go to the Cowboys, and he didn't. And it really surprised a lot of people. I personally would have liked to have seen that. I think that would have been, everybody thought Lincoln Riley was the GOAT, and in a lot of ways he still is. But I think if he could go take a team like the Dallas Cowboys that were struggling so bad at the time and turn that team around, he really would be the GOAT. Who is the coach? Noah, do you have it?
Mike McCarthy.
That's a weird coincidence.
Right, Jonathan McCarty.
They must be related.
McCarthy.
It is a Texas team.
Interesting.
Conspiracy theory.
Fuck the police in Cedar Rapids or whatever. Yeah, I'm reading a weird article, though, that Mike McCarthy unsurprisingly lied to Jerry Jones to get the Cowboys head coaching job.
Oh, I'm not
I don't know what that
surprised.
means, but I'm not going to read that right now.
No, that's all right.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is they've built something they don't want to give up what they've built. A pride factor, and a lot of them, I think, and I hate to be like this, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think a lot of them are scared, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
Right. I'm sure they're nervous as fuck to go do professional sports, but also I feel like I don't want to do anything that I'm not the best at.
Yeah.
And the best is professional.
Right.
And so if I'm a coach and I'm in college, I feel like if you have the drive to be a college coach at a good fucking school, then I imagine you have the drive to go be a professional coach. I'm sure it's at least something you want to try once to see if it's for you.
100%. And, I mean, but it also goes both ways because you look at Harbaugh at Michigan. Harbaugh left the 49ers to be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. What has Michigan done in the last 10 years? Not shit.
Not shit. I've never even heard of that fucking team.
Yeah. I mean, they're garbage.
Yeah.
And so I think I did the math. John Harbaugh made $21,000 a day. For 10 years. For 10 years to be Michigan's head coach.
Not to mention all the girls he brought in.
100%. All kinds of them. But then you got to look and see what Michigan's done the last 10 years. Michigan has not done shit. So now where are we at? So it goes both ways, man. I mean, I think John Harbaugh would have been a lot smarter to stay in the NFL because as soon as he went to Michigan, his team went to shit.
And I know some coaches you said have come back to college, but I feel like that's pretty rare. So I think a lot of it, too, is like if you leave, this is it. You have to put everything first. And also another thing, too, is you're probably not going to get in the same state or city.
Yeah.
So if you got kids, family,
Saban
friends.
was extremely likely to end up in the SEC in general because LSU and Alabama are both in the SEC. And he was extremely likely to get to go back. And, I mean, I don't know. I like talking about Nick Saban a lot. And I think it's just because I know a lot about him. But I think he's probably one of the only coaches that we said made the transition back and forth work,
So do you know of any coaches, real quick off the top of your head, that have went professional and came back to a different team?
In college football?
Mm-hmm. And successfully, where they've had winning seasons both before? Because you probably have to have a winning season if you're going to go professional, and then they've come back and they've had a winning season?
I'd say Nick Saban's probably the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's probably others,
right?
But off the top of my head, Nick Saban's the only one I can think of.
And obviously, I'm talking head coaches, too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's tons of offensive coordinators.
Oh, for sure. Well, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is a prime example. Lane Kiffin went to the NFL and was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. And I believe the San Francisco 49ers were pretty competitive at that time. Well, he comes back to college, and, I mean, let's call it what it is. Lane Kiffin's college career, other than the small stint he spent as an assistant to Nick Saban, has been a joke. I mean, Lane Kiffin at Tennessee, horrible. Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic was okay, but then again, like we were talking earlier, you got to look and see what conference Florida Atlantic's in. You got to look and see who Florida Atlantic plays. It's not harder. It's not as hard for a person like Lane Kiffin to be dominant at a school like that. Then he goes to Ole Miss. Ole Miss was a 500 team this year. And then, and another thing about Lane Kiffin, you talk about the girls. Lane Kiffin, he's a very controversial person. Lane Kiffin was seen partying with the Alabama Crimson Tide after they won their last national championship. Well, here's the deal. Ole Miss and Alabama are in the same conference. So, of course, diehard Ole Miss fans are going to be like, fuck this guy. You want to go party with your old team? Fuck you. Get the fuck out. Lane Kiffin, I will never forget. Lane Kiffin gets hired to be the assistant coach at the University of Alabama, or offensive coordinator, actually. He had left Tennessee. He was the head coach of Tennessee. He comes back to Tennessee for the first time in a few years as Alabama's offensive coordinator. They booed him and threw shit at him as he walked onto the field. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Jeez. Poor guy.
But I just thought of something. We were talking about recruitment scandals, and I didn't talk about Hugh Freeze.
Will you hand me a water?
I sure will, buddy. I don't have any water in here. I got
yeah, that's what I mean, that water there.
Oh.
The adult beverage water. Thank you.
I'm also trying to get endorsed by Busch Light. I really love your...
It's water.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I can't believe I didn't talk about Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss. Hugh Freeze had a phenomenal season before he got popped with all these recruitment scandals. I mean, I remember when Ole Miss beat Alabama for the first time.
Shout out to the corn can.
For the farmers.
See.
But when they beat Alabama, they tore down the goalposts, and which is another thing that kind of pissed me off. The NCAA is like, hey, we can't tear down goalposts anymore. People are going to start getting fined for tearing down goalposts. These kids at Ole Miss hadn't beat Alabama in years, so of course these kids are excited. Of course they're going to tear down the goalposts. I think the next season, Hugh Freeze got caught with his pants down, and he got in a lot of trouble. I can't believe I didn't talk about him earlier. Hugh Freeze is probably one of my favorite recruitment scandal stories.
God.
It's all over the hookers, people.
Yeah,
All over the hookers.
Can you blame them? Can you fucking blame them? Let's back off these people that want fucking hookers. Let's back off of them.
Yeah.
There's no problem. That's another thing. We should allow recruitment bonuses, and we should allow hookers.
Hey.
Both those things are the dumbest things to be illegal.
And it would make recruiting so much easier.
Marijuana.
And it would, would make recruiting so much easier.
Okay, well, let's fucking get to it, man.
All right, basketball.
Basketball. Here we go. Because I'm fired the heck up.
All right,
I'm
buddy.
fired the heck up, and
Let's
here's
do it.
why. As a casual fan, and I told him that I was gonna have him explain to the people of the Nitro show, the listeners of the Nitro show, I was gonna have him explain how you can get involved as a casual fan. When I first started watching college sports, it was actually my friend who said, "Dude, what's your bracket look like?"
Yeah.
I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Bro.
And I filled out a bracket, and it was the most fun March I've ever
it's a
had
blast.
in my entire life.
It is a blast.
Every day was intense.
Yep.
And I think I made it not far. Like, there was no money or anything. I did a free one on, like,
Uh-huh.
Fox Sports or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
ESPN had a free
Yeah,
one.
so the ESPN Tournament Challenge is the one I use every year. And, one thing would be fun if you want to talk about it, we could do a Nitro show bracket where our listeners could get in and do a bracket. What do you think about that, buddy?
The issue with that is that nobody listens to the show. But I would love to make a bracket with you, and then maybe if we get far down, we could watch a game. If we get to, like, the last, we could watch a game together.
Dude, that'd be a lot
here,
of fun.
up on the TV over there.
So, I mean, like I said earlier, I do the ESPN Tournament Challenge, and it is probably the most user-friendly app that I've found. I've also done the Yahoo Sports. It's not as user-friendly, but literally, like, man, it's just so much fun. Like you said, dude, it makes every game matter.
So it's like why I play DK. I'm never going to win money on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Sorry, DraftKings. Die. It's all bots in there.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to win money. But if I just bet a little bit,
Yeah.
oh, man, I can make this shitty-ass game that means nothing
Means
that
something.
much more fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, dude, like I said, man, I actually used to run my own bracket challenge, and I've got out of it recently. I got out of it 2 years ago because I was in the middle of a move and just didn't have time to fuck with it. And this last year we didn't do it because of COVID. But I had a good friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, and he was an 8-up basketball fan. And after he died, I ran a bracket challenge in his memory. And we never had more than like 30 brackets in at a time, which really 30 brackets is a lot. But the nice thing about the app is it grades it for you. If we all fill out a piece of paper, I got to sit down and mark that shit out, But, I mean, as far as getting into it, man, just download the app when tournament time rolls around and just look at who's on there. And the nice thing about the ESPN Tournament Challenge bracket is it'll give you news and scores. So, like, everything's right there on the app. Everything you need to know about the tournament itself is on the
Okay,
app.
tell the people what the app is called one more time.
It's the ESPN Tournament Challenge.
ESPN Tournament Challenge app. And
Yep.
this is for March Madness.
Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, man, it makes it so much easier, man. Like I said, scores are on there, and it'll bring the scores into the bracket. So you just got to pull up your bracket, and you can see what everybody's playing right then.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's dope, dude. It really is.
I remember this was probably 2 Marches ago, 2018. I think
Okay.
I had Oregon, and they actually went pretty far. It was fun as hell.
That year I had Virginia Tech, and they lost number 1 to
Yes.
what was that 16 seed UBC?
Yeah, they lost out of the gate, dude.
Yeah, dude. Fuck you, Virginia Tech, cocksuckers. Ruined my bracket that year. I was so pissed. But yeah, dude, and that is what is fun about that bracket. We were talking earlier about how if we do that with college football, people, it'll make everybody more competitive in the grand scheme of things. That is what is so much fun about college basketball. For the first time ever, a 16 seed beat a number 1 seed out
And
of the
it's
gate.
already implemented in college sports. We know it works.
Yeah, 100%.
We already know it works.
It works every year. Every year it works.
I gotta pull these jeans down. Okay, so let's get back to the basics here. And before we go deep into this bracketology, is the SEC the top fucking dogs for basketball?
Well, for a lot of years, it was the University of Kentucky, which is SEC's basketball school.
Which is coached by your favorite person.
By my favorite person. And here's the deal, man. I'm going to bitch about John Calipari a lot. And I want this to be very clear to our listeners. I don't hate John Calipari. I just hate what he does. I don't hate the man. In fact, I like the man. I'd love to play around and golf with him and bullshit with him. I think he's a great. He's Italian. Hey, cuz, you can go play some golf, cuz. I mean, I'm sure he's a great fucking dude, but he is a shitty basketball
That was
coach.
the worst Italian impression I've ever fucking
I just
heard.
do my Nino Bruno. Hey, this is Nino Bruno down in 102. You being mandatory to this, son.
Is Nino Bruno Italian?
Yeah, he's our B shift DC.
Mm.
He mandatory to me one day. It was the funniest phone call. I thought I was getting punked. I thought it was a Papa John's commercial.
Yeah.
Is it Nino Bruno down in 102? You gotta go to work today, cuz.
Are you sure this guy's not Hispanic?
Nah, dude, he's Italian. Have you never met Nino Bruno?
Nope.
And you used to work in 102. You never met Nino Bruno.
Mm-mm.
Damn, dude. We'll have to go down there and introduce ourselves one day.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so Kentucky's the top dog in their
So
SEC.
Kentucky, now here's the deal. Kentucky is trash this year. I was talking to my barber this morning. I think they're 6-8 right now. Trash. Kentucky is playing like dog shit right now. For a while, Kentucky and Auburn's basketball team under Bruce Pearl was fucking dominant there for a while. In recent years, I don't know if they're quite as dominant as they were. But yeah, for a lot of years, it was Kentucky and then Auburn. Florida had some good tournament runs. LSU back in the 90s had some decent tournament runs. Tennessee is more of a women's basketball school, but Tennessee is a basketball school. But yeah, dude, Kentucky for a long time was the SEC's powerhouse. And I'm going to do quickly. Alabama, for the first time ever, is ranked pretty high. So let me go through. So we've got SEC schools. We've got, I think, Mizzou. We got Mizzou at number 12.
Whoa.
That hasn't happened in a long time. Long time. So shout out to Mizzou. Let's see who else we got here. I know Alabama's on here. Oh, Alabama's number 9 right now. Number 9. That's a big deal for the University of Alabama. Their basketball team has not been dominant in a long time, and they've went through some big. I remember there for a while. They had, after Anthony Grant left, they hired. God dang it, I'll think of him. He was an NBA commentator for a while. What the hell was his name? Avery? No, not Avery. I'll think of it here in a minute. But
Okay.
he was a all-star NBA player, and he had actually won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. And Alabama fired Anthony Grant to hire this guy, Avery Johnson. You remember Avery Johnson?
I don't know.
He was he like I said, won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. Alabama hired him. Trash. Had horrible seasons.
Huh.
They recently fired him. I don't know who their coach is off the top of my head. I'll have to look. But yeah, shout out to Alabama and Mizzou, man. 9 and 12. That's really respected rankings right now. And here you got KU all the way down here at 15.
Wow, and they're the top dogs usually.
Yeah, I mean,
One of them with Duke.
and we got Tennessee in the 18 spot, and then in Tennessee they've been good. I mean, Tennessee they're very good. But yeah, I mean, now that Kentucky's kind of fallen off the map, I would not say that the SEC is the basketball conference anymore. When Kentucky and Auburn was like 1 and 4, because I remember there for a while, Kentucky was number 1 in the world and Auburn was number 4. And it was that way for quite a while. And now that both those schools are kind of falling off the map, I would say maybe your Big Ten schools like your Ohio States. They have a phenomenal basketball program. Michigan's number 4 right now in the nation. I think your Big Ten school, Purdue always has a great basketball program. So Michigan State. I mean, my God, Michigan State, they always have a fantastic basketball program. So I'll probably say your Big Ten basketball schools. But here's the school I want to talk about out of the Big Ten, Iowa. Iowa has the number 1 player in the world right now, Luka Garza. Iowa is going to go deep this year, people.
He sounds European. Do we know?
I don't know
Is
his descent.
is he American? Well, I mean, Europeans are big in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know where this kid's from, but I know he is.
Do you ever, I apologize for interrupting, but do you ever have, I guess they would call it foreign exchange?
Ben Simmons from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does that happen a lot? Because I know European basketball is huge.
It is huge. I wouldn't say a lot. There is a high school in North Carolina, and of course, I don't know if you know this, and I'm sure you do. North Carolina is a basketball state. They worship the game of basketball in North Carolina.
You were telling me about this, and the fact that I didn't know this, it got me fired up. Explain to the people why North Carolina is the heater, McGeeter, McBeater for basketball.
Look at your schools. I mean, you've got Duke. You've got North Carolina. Look at the Duke and North Carolina coaches. You got Coach K at Duke and Roy fucking Williams at North Carolina. People, Roy Williams is the fucking GOAT. Quick backstory on Roy Williams. Roy Williams is the reason Kansas is as dominant as Kansas is. Roy Williams was the Kansas head coach for many years, and Bill Self took over when he left to go back to his home state of North Carolina. But you've got Duke, you've got North Carolina, you've got NC State. NC State hasn't been dominant for a few years, but back in like the 80s when they had Jimmy Valvino, I think was his name, phenomenal coach. They won a national championship, NC State did. Wake Forest. Wake Forest has a fantastic basketball program.
Baby. And the coolest name on the block.
100%. But you just got to look at the schools out of North Carolina. I mean, those schools, that is a basketball state.
And the rivalries, how do they line up over there? Who hates who in that state?
Duke and North Carolina are the big ones. Everybody hates NC State just because of their geographical location. It's not because they're really dominant per se. They haven't been for a lot of years. But yeah, Duke and North Carolina, the reason they are so hated is because they're so close geographically. Like I think they're 30 miles apart. And they both are Final Four basketball teams every year. So it is so easy to hate. And they got to play each other twice a year, every year. Twice a year, every year. They hate each other. That is probably one of the most hated rivalries, the Duke and North Carolina rivalry. And it's fun to watch. I mean, just to watch it on TV is a blast because you can feel like the hate through the TV. Like, it's fun, dude. And you also got to look at some of the players that has come out of there. I mean, Michael Jordan, big North Carolina guy. Michael Jordan played his college ball at North Carolina.
Okay, so can North Carolina and Duke both be in the final?
100% they can.
Okay, are they under the same conference?
They are both in the ACC, yes. But an SEC school can be – so when they do this, the big national bracket, there's going to be an East seed, a West seed, a North seed, and a South seed. Just because your geographical location is in the South, you can play in the Northern seed. It's all about your record.
Mm-hmm. That's almost like that makes sense.
Right, I know. Feature that. Something that makes sense.
Imagine the two morons in the heavy hands casting couch figure it the fuck out before the professionals. Well.
You heard it here first, people.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, go ahead.
But, I mean, yeah, you just got to look at one thing I'd really like to do, and I've never done this, I want to go to a game either at Duke or North Carolina, or both someday. Because, we talk about Alabama's history and tradition, they are the Alabamas of college basketball, and they are the Clemsons of college basketball, and the Notre Dames, and their basketball in the state of North Carolina is absolutely huge. They're always. Right now, they're both having rough years now, but they're always top 5 schools, always.
Okay, who won last year?
I think they traded wins last year.
No. Who won the whole thing?
We didn't have it because of COVID.
Oh, right. Okay, year before that.
You're putting me on the spot now. Who did win last year? I remember Virginia got shattered early.
We can look it up. It's no big deal.
Yeah, who was it? I know I had Virginia and they lost first round. Fuck you, Virginia. Who the fuck was it? It wasn't North Carolina, was it? No, it wasn't. I know it wasn't North Carolina. As soon as you say it, I'm going to feel like a dumbass.
It's weird trying to type it in with the microphone in my face. That's why we need Jack. Shout out Jack. Unknown last name. We need our producer back. Virginia won it 2019. Villanova won it 2018. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I remember when Villanova won. That was a lot of fun.
North Carolina 2017 under Roy Williams, your fucking boy.
Love you, Roy.
Duke 2015.
Yep.
Villanova again 2016.
And, man, keep going back. You're going to see Duke and North Carolina a lot. And I mean a lot.
Duke 2015, North Carolina 2009, Kentucky went 38-2. Under this guy, I don't know who this is, John Calipari.
Yeah, I actually don't know him either. I actually got a list of John Calipari fuck-ups when you're ready to touch on that.
Okay, so we've kind of went over the excitement for basketball, North Carolina, the rivalries. When you say that, for me, I'm a type of guy that I don't always take the dog, per se, but if you give me a type of underdog story or a type of rivalry story, I get fired the heck up. Do it. Fix those pants. I get fired the heck up, man. And I'm fucking thrilled to know a little more of the backstory about these teams, the dominance they have, the rivalries they have. It gets me gets me excited
And
for
you've also got to look
basketball.
at both those coaches. I mean, Coach K and Roy Williams. I mean, two of probably the greatest coaches to ever stand on the court. I mean,
It's weird as a casual sports fan how much you don't appreciate coaches until you start diving in, and then you're like, oh,
yeah.
the coach is like one of the most pivotal person on the fucking team.
And here's the deal. It is so much work to create a dominant program.
Think about how exhausting it is. Imagine, this is what it's like to be a coach, I think, out of college. You build a fucking work desk, okay? Yeah. You measure it out. You go to Lowe's, you buy the fucking wood. Okay, you fuck it up a few times. You got to go buy more wood.
Right.
I know I fuck shit up at least 3 times before I get it right.
Yeah.
Then you get the wrong screws and you fucking splinter the wood. Then you got to go get more wood. Okay, you finally get it right. And then it's off balance.
Yep.
Okay, then you finally get it right. Okay, and now your season starts with your workbench. And you start building shit on it.
Yep.
Okay? And then it's like at the end of that season, they just take a couple of the legs away, and now you got to start over.
Yep.
Because without the legs, the bench won't stand up.
Yep.
That was the dumbest analogy ever.
Well, but here's the deal.
But you have to
sense.
rebuild every fucking time.
Yeah.
Every year. Even if you just lose one pivotal player, one starting player, you got to rebuild.
So, I don't want to jump to conclusions early, but this is one reason I have an issue with Coach Calipari. So, I don't know if you know this, but in college football, you only have to play 3 out of 4 seasons to be eligible for the NFL draft. In basketball, you only have to play 1 season to be eligible for the NBA draft. So you've got Coach Calipari at Kentucky, a recruiting genius. I mean, I'll admit it. Coach Calipari can recruit, but he markets his program as a one-and-done type program. So many times in history have there been 5 true freshmen on Kentucky starting 5 lineup. So many times. You cannot build a championship-winning team, a deep tournament-running team on 5 true freshmen, and then next year you're going to have 5 more true freshmen. Then you're going to have 5 more true freshmen. You are losing to teams. You will make the – I mean, I don't know if he'll make the tournament this year. They're playing like dog shit. But here's the deal. You can make the tournament with 5 true freshmen on your starting lineup. You can do it. But then when you are playing against seniors who have played together for 4 years – and know each other and know everything about each other and have lived together for 4 years, you can't beat those guys. You can't do it. Because here's the deal. When you go to Duke and when you go to North Carolina, you pick a school. I think Kentucky is the only school I can think of that markets that one-and-done style program. You go to any other school and you're playing seniors who have played together for years, you got these 18-year-old kids playing against 24-year-old kids or 22-year-old kids who have been together for years. You can't compete. And so that is why I don't think John Calipari will ever, and I'm saying this, I want this to go on record, I don't think John Calipari will ever win another national championship at the University of Kentucky.
You heard it here first, folks. Live from the Heavy Hands Casting Couch on the Nitro Show. One of the best coaches of all time, per Gabe Noble, a Kansas City resident, will never win. Oh, fuck, dude. Those are some accusations. I love it. Go off. What the fuck else has this guy done? I want to hear about this piece of shit.
Here we go. John Calipari. So like I said earlier, he is a phenomenal recruiting, but here we go. So we're going to get the ball rolling. 96 went to the Final Four with UMass. He had a gentleman named, I can't even read my own writing. Oh shit. Marcus Camby. So Marcus Camby, after this, accepted money from a college or a professional agent, completely voided that deep run in the tournament. But this is what John Calipari did. He created a fake dean's list to get Marcus Camby out of academic probation.
Yes.
All right, moving on.
I love it.
In 2008, he goes to the championship with Derrick Rose. What did Derrick Rose do? He had someone else take the ACT for him. Now, here's the deal. We can sit here and we can say, well, John Calipari didn't know.
We just went over this.
We did just go over this, but we can sit here and say, well, is that really John Calipari's fault? Did John Calipari get somebody to take the ACT for him?
100%.
100%.
I don't even need to know that fucking guy to know that he got somebody to take the ACT for him.
John Calipari was 40 games under 500 as an NBA head coach. In 2010, he sent 5 first-round picks to the NBA. That was his first year at Kentucky. They actually, I believe they won a championship there, or 09. Well, yeah, 09, 010.
Oh, I have it pulled up. I'll check.
Well, it was 09, so it was the 2010 draft. He sent 5 first-round picks to the NBA, which is very impressive. He got Devon Wagner a $7 million payday.
No. North Carolina won in 2009. Duke won in 2010. Kansas in 2008.
Well, then what year did Kentucky win? Was it 11?
12.
Oh, shit. Well, anyway, his first year at Kentucky, he sent 5 first-round picks to the NBA draft, which...
But that doesn't mean they didn't make it far as fuck.
Well, but here's the deal. Do you remember some of the picks that were that year? Fuck.
No,
me.
I just got into professional sports.
I mean, let's talk about the biggest one, Anthony Davis. Anthony
baby.
Davis was one of those 5 first-round picks that year. Anthony Davis, as you all know, turned out to be a fantastic NBA basketball player.
And he's an all-star.
But, I mean, moving on with John Calipari, he got Devon Wagner a $7 million payday, which worked out in Devon Wagner's, because he got sick. I don't know if you know that, but Devon Wagner got really sick, and he had to take that $7 million payday. I don't remember what it was, to be honest with you. I just know he got it may have just been injuries in general. But, I mean, and this is kind of a pro for John Calipari, because John Calipari, when he has recruits get drafted in the NBA, John Calipari is probably one of the most hands-on coaches as far as trying to work their NBA contract. He's very hands-on, very, upfront, tries to be which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I think that's respectable. Not a lot of coaches are that hands-on on that transition process. But John Calipari held out, got Devon Wagner paid. Here, Devon Wagner gets sick. Now he's got $7 million. And he doesn't have to, now he's sitting on a couch somewhere like we are.
He got him paid from who? I was assuming you meant from the NBA.
Yeah, I don't remember what team drafted Devon Wagner.
But the team paid him, and then he didn't play because he got very sick?
Yes.
Whoa.
But this is my last...
Do you have a year on that?
I don't, dude. I wish I did.
Off the top of your head, do you remember roughly?
Well, it had probably been early 2000s, I'd say.
Wow. Huh.
But
I'd like to do some more research into that. That's really interesting.
My last John Calipari incident was when he changed Eric Bledsoe's transcript. I don't know if you people know this, but a transcript is a legal document. You can't change a transcript. John Calipari did.
Fuck yeah. This guy sounds like everything that I support. This guy's fucking badass, dude.
Noah, this is why I said from the get-go, I don't hate John Calipari. We don't talk about this. Nobody talks about this. And here's the deal. I'm not trying to say, fuck John Calipari, and I know that's not what it sounds like.
You literally just said fuck John Calipari.
I know that's what it sounds like.
You just said that.
But here's the deal.
What is so bad about him getting a guy paid?
No, nothing's bad about that. That's just a
Then why is it on the list?
Oh, well,
get that off of there.
All right, you got a pin.
I don't have a pin, but get that off of there.
No, that's not a bad thing. That's just in my research. That's one of the many things that I found that he was involved in. But Derrick Rose, though, did you know that he coached Derrick Rose at Memphis before he went to Kentucky, and they went to the Final Four,
and then got someone to take his ACT for him?
Well,
I'm telling you, this guy's the most suspect person you've ever fucking described on the show.
He is, yeah.
But I don't think that it's anything that somebody else isn't doing.
Oh, no, there is no top program that's Lily White. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying John Calipari is dumb enough to get caught.
With no repercussions?
Oh, yeah, dude, they fucking... Yes, very much repercussions. Memphis was banned from tournament play for a long time because of the Derrick Rose incident. The UMass Final Four run was completely vacated. Like, taken off the books. When UMass went to the Final Four in 96.
I know you said this, so I'm not copying your words, but I'm reiterating. It's fucked up that they can punish a school for something that an individual does.
And that was my whole recruitment argument. I don't think it's fair to punish these kids. So here's the deal. I was not a great student in high school. John Calipari comes out and says, Gabe, we got somebody to take the ACT for you. Well, fuck yeah. Let's get them down here. Let's do it,
If he would have offered for someone to just take the GED for me, I would have said, sir, I'll clean the floors.
But, I mean, look at Kentucky right now. They're 8-6 or 6-8.
Okay, but when is the last season that you think they had this horrible of a run?
This is probably their worst run under John Calipari.
Okay. Why are you hating on my boy?
You've known him for 15 minutes. What do you mean your boy? Get the fuck out of here.
That's my fucking boy. I love you, John Calipari. If you see this, Take me out to a game.
Hey, John Calipari, I'm sorry I talked shit on you for the last 15 minutes. Please forgive me.
You just tried to you tried to light this man up on the Nitro show.
I did. Well, I did light
That's what
him
we
up
do
on the
here,
Nitro
folks.
show.
We light these motherfuckers up on the Nitro show.
Hey, we did kill that. We did tell that one chick to kill herself. To be fair, so we didn't. John Calipari should be honored.
Who?
That one chick in Texas.
Off Greg Kelly, she did kill herself. We didn't tell her.
That's right, she did.
Yeah,
Well,
but the rest of that staff, for sure, kill yourself. And I don't
yeah.
feel bad about saying that.
I don't really either.
You guys cost somebody their life, and you need to have yours taken.
This just got really dark.
That was pretty aggressive. I apologize. But I mean, that was fucked up. Those cops
it
were
was
fucked up, dude. I'm not saying they should kill themselves. I'm just being funny. But I mean, really?
Yeah. I do.
There's a reason that lady killed herself. There's
Yeah.
a reason. Because she knew that she maybe cost that guy. And I wish she was alive to know that he recovered and he might be okay.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to kill themselves.
Yeah.
I really don't. But I'm just saying that it's almost that extreme.
Yeah.
But
I mean, back to the whole John Calipari thing. I think John Calipari is a great basketball coach. I think when it comes to him being able to, create, a lineup that can be dominant and create plays and things and offenses to be dominant, I think he can do that. It just comes down to these slight discrepancies.
huge. But it's weird, man. If any of these slight discrepancies were to occur in professional sports, these guys would be out of there ASAP.
Oh,
no
yeah.
question. Even if they weren't found guilty, even if they weren't guilty,
Oh, yeah.
they'd be out of there like that.
Right.
That's fucking, man. Professional sports is so political.
It really is. It is. Yep. I definitely agree. But I mean, as far as the basketball thing goes, I mean, like let's take a quick look here. We got Gonzaga sitting at number 1. Gonzaga is always dominant.
They're always good.
Gonzaga's always good.
What
Baylor,
conference does Gonzaga play for?
I think they're an independent. I think Gonzaga's an independent school.
How do you get matchups if you're an independent?
Just pick up the phone and call. Say, hey, you want to play me this year?
Really?
Yeah, Notre Dame did it for years. Notre Dame was an independent.
That's
for years
so bizarre,
and years.
man.
Yeah.
That is really bizarre.
Actually, I might have just lied to you because I don't think
Gonzaga
whatever-
could be an independent. They're so good.
I think whatever, because they play like St. John and actually, I think I might have just told you wrong. I don't think they are an independent. Notre Dame legit was for a lot of years though, but you know what? All the military schools are like Army, Navy.
I wanted to ask you about this when we were talking about football. Where do these Army and Navy? They're all independent?
Yeah, they're all independent schools.
So what would be the indication of someone wanting to play them? They just think it's an easy win?
Pretty much, yeah. Tradition, a lot of it, like we talk about tradition in college sports. Like Army and Navy have to play every year for a tradition aspect. I think Notre Dame, had to play. I don't remember. It may have been Army and Navy when they were independents as a tradition aspect. I think, I think that's a lot of it. They just, that's how they talk to people into playing them.
The names on this championship list for basketball are just
Who you got, buddy?
they're repetitive. That's I don't.
Well, yeah,
they're just so the same teams win.
But here's
every
the deal.
fucking time.
So we were talking about teams in football that are dominant every year and win every year. Then you look at basketball teams, and basketball teams are doing the same. But look, they had to beat 64 other teams to be there.
I mean, we just talked about Virginia getting knocked out. It can happen.
It can happen.
It can't happen in football because they don't allow even the chance of that happening.
100%. That's what I'm saying, dude. That is why I love college basketball. And also, I'm just a fan of the game of basketball in general. But, I mean, back to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's always dominant. And I think, God dang, I can't think of what conference they're in. Now that I think about it, they are definitely in a conference. They play like St. John, St. Mary. Did you find what conference Gonzaga's in? I guess it's irrelevant. But then we got Baylor number 2, Villanova number 3, Michigan at number 4, Texas, Houston, Iowa, Virginia, Alabama, and Texas Tech.
They're in the
top 10.
NCAA, and they're 15-0.
Well, I know they're in the
playing
NCAA,
today.
but what?
Do you want to know who they're playing today?
No, I want to know what conference in the NCAA.
Oh,
they are.
there's conferences within the NCAA?
Yeah, the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, those are all part of the NCAA.
Oh, so NCAA is not its own thing?
Well, it is, but you have conferences. It's like the NFL. You have the NFL, but then you have the AFC East, AFC West.
Okay, well, we've just went 2 hours into this podcast, and you failed to explain that.
I'm sorry, I thought
because you didn't lead with that. This whole time I thought it was SEC, then you had NCAA. Cool, so it's all under NCAA.
Yeah, and like I said,
National College
Athletic Association.
Okay,
yeah.
and then everything's under there.
Yeah,
so
like I said, it's just like the NFL having like the NFC East, NFC South. Instead we have the SEC, Big 10, Big 12.
West Coast Conference, WCC.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean that's bizarre. I've never even seen that word in my fucking life, but that's what it says they're in.
But I mean, look at this top 10. I mean,
look at the AEC.
And here we talk about the American Conference a little bit. We got Houston in here at number 6 out of the American Conference, and they play like Wichita State, SMU, Cincinnati. I mean, the American Conference is a huge basketball conference, and it's been a long time since Houston has really been dominant, especially in like deep tournament runs. But I mean, I was talking to you earlier about how, we're talking about how the American Conference can't really win in football, but when you get into the basketball brackets, I mean, look, 6th place out of all these teams, like that's pretty big. That's a big deal.
Right. Why is Gonzaga not on? They've never won. If they have, it was before 1939 because that's how far that went back. And I'm sure I didn't see Gonzaga.
Gonzaga has been a Final Four team for probably the last 20 years, but they're
always
won.
in there.
They've never won.
They're always in there.
Man, I would love to see Gonzaga, and I think a lot of people would love to see Gonzaga break through and get a win. I really do.
I know my boys are sickos, and anytime Gonzaga's playing Duke, anytime Gonzaga's playing KU, they're fucking hyped.
Right. Yeah, dude, Gonzaga's a big deal. I mean, fuck, them and Baylor are the only 2 undefeated teams right now in college basketball. The 1 and 2 seeds, Gonzaga and Baylor.
Okay, what if you're a casual person, you've addressed the application, what can you look to make a bracket? Like, what if you're new to bracketology and you said, okay, I want to fucking get into this, what would you say go look at? What resources do they have available?
I mean, when I'm filling out a bracket, I mean, I can't obviously watch every college basketball game ever. I mean,
so many.
Especially the way we work and the hours we work, you can't sit down and watch every game. So me, if I'm filling out a bracket and I get to a school that I don't know really are they good or what, I just do my research. And right here I've got some research. So I've got the 1 through 25 teams in NCAA basketball, and I've also got teams that are receiving votes. So the NCAA top 25, or just the way they format their structure, is like college football. It's a committee, and you have to vote on who makes it in the top 25. So we got Boise State received 108 votes to make it into the top 25. So if I'm filling out a bracket and I was like, oh shit, here's Boise State. I don't really know anything about Boise State, but guess what? They received 108 votes to make it in the top 25.
And what resources are you using to see these votes?
ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ESPN.
Is it all within that app that you can statistics and stuff?
I don't know if the app does news and standings, but if you get onto just the regular ESPN app and you go to the college basketball section, they do news and they do standings. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the standings, it has all the people receiving votes. Drake received 75 votes. So here's the deal. If I'm filling out a bracket, I don't know shit, and I see Drake, I'm like, Drake? In the Missouri Valley? Who's Drake?
Drake is Duke's moron brother.
100%. Drake is trash, but guess what? They received 75 votes to make it into the top 25, so they must not be trash.
So those are some fucking degenerates seeing something that us cashes aren't seeing.
Right, and I mean, moving on down, Colorado received 59 votes. If I was filling out a tournament bracket and I didn't know this, I probably wouldn't pick Colorado to win. I mean, I guess it would depend on who they're playing, but at no point in my life can I remember Colorado being a dominant basketball school. So no, I'm not going to pick Colorado to go deep. But here's the deal. They've received 59 votes. So you know what? They must be winning some basketball games. I don't know what their record is off the top of my head. But here we go. And we move down here to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's received 49 votes. I don't know if you people know this, but Oklahoma State has one of the top basketball players in the game right now. And I don't want to fuck up his name, so let me find it. Cade Cunningham of Oklahoma State is the top.
Cutting.
Cunning. C-U-N-N.
N-N. All right.
He is right now the number 4.
Is he a freshie?
I don't think so. But we got, I just look at the players that they have, because, like, if you only start 5 players, it is easier for one player to break out and be dominant. So what I did before I come on the show, because I'm a little rusty, I haven't got to watch a lot of basketball yet this season, and it's still somewhat early. I mean, I know it's January. It's not early, but, we're not quite to March yet, so people aren't getting super into it. So I actually sat down and I actually did my homework. I saw who was ranked, who was receiving votes, and I also saw who the top players are. So I'm filling out a bracket. I see, I can't pronounce this guy's name. Ayo Dusuma. I'm not fucking with you. AYODOSUMU of Illinois. He is right now what is considered to be the second best basketball player in college basketball. Now, Illinois, where is Illinois? They're
Next
ranked.
to, who did we say was number 1?
Luka Garza of Iowa.
Luka Garza.
And I'm telling you, people, do not sleep on Iowa. Iowa is going deep. So Iowa just lost to Indiana.
What's their record?
I think they've lost maybe 3 games this year.
Wow.
But do not sleep on them. And so they just lost to Indiana. That blew a lot of people's minds because Indiana, I mean, they're having a mediocre year, but they're part of the Big Ten, and every Big Ten basketball school, or every school in the Big Ten is a good basketball school. So they lost to Indiana, and Luka Garza comes out and he's like, "We're dialed in. We're not losing any more games. We're going deep."
It's 104s, babe.
It's 104s. He's dialed in.
Dialed in.
Got dialed in.
104s.
But I mean, don't sleep on Iowa. I'm not saying Iowa's going to win it all, but I'm saying they're a Final Four team. I think Iowa can easily go to the Final Four.
Fuck, that's exciting, man. It's exciting. Any team that's not listed. And again, I wish I could. I wish Jack was here. We could put this up on the thing that you guys can see.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking teams winning every fucking goddamn time.
But like I said, Noah, these teams are earning it because they've got to go far into these brackets. I mean, so there's the. So there's 60, there's 32, there's the 16, there's the 8s, there's the 4s, and then there's the championships. They've got to win six postseason games, and that is not counting their tournament or their conference tournaments.
Right.
So the Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, SEC, they're going to play their conference tournament games. And those conference tournament games are going to count for their record when they make it to the big tournament. So let's use, we're talking about Auburn and Bruce Pearl. So let's take Auburn and Bruce Pearl for example. Auburn and Bruce Pearl, they win the SEC championship. So now we're going into the big, the big tournament. They play the game of 63, win. They play the game of 32 or 64. Excuse me. The game of 32, win. The game of 16s, win. The 8s, win. The 4s and win, and then the championship and fucking win. That's 6 fucking games playing quality fucking teams. They're not playing the South Central Louisiana State Mug Dogs. They're playing fucking Michigan. They're playing fucking Nebraska. They're playing fucking Alabama, Texas Tech, West Virginia. Teams that are
playing teams.
Quality teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in college basketball, you're going to see teams like in college football dominant and winning every year. But guess what? They're earning it because they're playing 6 games, not including their fucking tournament or their conference tournament. And then on top of that, they had to play, 20 regular season games on top of that?
Let me ask you something, and I just don't want to forget, so I'm bringing it up now. I don't mean to go back to football, but do you see guys go out of football quicker than you do basketball for professional transition? And is it because they don't want to take a lot of damage?
What do you mean
Do you
by
see
that?
people play 4 years in football as the same as you see them play 4 years in basketball? Or do you see guys transitioning quicker from college football to professional compare? Like, is it about the same?
Well, I think that is
I feel like there's
athlete
a lot
to
of
athlete.
young players in NFL.
And I agree, especially right now in the age we're living in right now. I mean, like, look at Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is, 26? And he's got 1 Super Bowl ring, get ready to win another.
Did he play 4 years?
He did play 4 years at Texas Tech.
Ridiculous that I don't know that. And I'm a Kansas City resident. But
he played 4 years at Texas Tech. And Texas Tech, when he was there, was not a very competitive football team. They were a very mediocre team. And I remember one specific game, and I can't remember who they played, but Patrick Mahomes put up 63 points, and they still lost.
Yeah.
Like, so I say that to say I think it's an athlete-to-athlete thing. I don't think, football players transition better than basketball players transition better than football players. I think it's just depending on who you are as an athlete, your work ethic, the coaches you have around you. I think it just depends on.
There's not a general rule.
I don't know. No. I wouldn't say so. Personally, that's just my personal opinion.
Man, and this isn't something that I expect you to know, but I wonder what percentage of guys in the NFL and NBA don't go to college. Because I know there's people that get signed right out of high school, and usually it's players' kids.
Yeah.
Like, I think is it LaMelo Ball that's popping off the season?
Yeah,
I believe he might not have even played college or played 1 year.
So you have to play at least 1 year of something to be eligible for the draft.
For the draft.
So
but NBA or NFL can just sign your ass.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? I think there's a group of
in
players.
In college basketball, though, I shouldn't say a lot of kids. I can only think of one instance where it has happened. But the number 1 overall recruit went to Europe and played a year of European basketball instead of playing a year of college basketball. That way he was still eligible for the draft, and he made money instead of losing money to play ball.
Do you know much about Luka Doncic?
No, I can't say I do.
I just wonder about his background.
Nah, I really don't know much about the guy. I really don't. But
do you know who he plays for?
I couldn't. No, I really don't.
Oh,
This is
he plays for the Mavericks.
okay. See, I don't watch a lot of NBA, man. So
Right. Luka Doncic could be the best NBA player of all time.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Right.
He wears the number 77.
Okay.
Fuck off with that. Nobody's walking around with double sevens on their jersey.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
But he could be one of the best basketball players of all time. He could be one of the best basketball players of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's European. Luka Doncic.
Right.
You know, our boy, shout out, in the other side of the class, Klenak.
Oh, Maris. Maris. We know he's
shout
not
out
watching,
Maris.
but shout out Maris.
He loves Luka Doncic.
Really?
I'd like to look up.
Well, now Maris.
I'd like to see his
Maris-
journey to the NBA
Yeah,
from someone
I mean,
who is a college player. Was he a foreign exchange student?
I don't know. Man.
I'm gonna
I
have
don't
to
know
look it
anything
up,
about him.
but it's really interesting to me because you had mentioned that other guy.
I can't think of that kid's name. It was the year after Ben Simmons when Ben Simmons went to LSU.
Who's the number one right now?
You mean overall or?
Yeah, that you think is going to be the number one?
Oh, Luka Garza.
That guy's clearly not American. Luka Garza?
I don't know what is I don't know where he's from. I'm pretty sure he's from America, but I could be wrong.
I guess it just seems like there's people who are trying to get paid along the way, and those are the people that are making the right decisions.
Yeah.
And everyone should be getting paid. You shouldn't have to go do sketchy shit like go to fucking Europe if you're not from Europe.
Yeah.
Just to get fucking paid.
No, I don't know, man. I think paying your collegiate athletes is a humongous gray area because then you've got your star players making way more than your bench players are. But then here's the deal, your bench players still have to live on the same campus, still have to go to the same classes, still have to go to the same practices. But then, if I make that argument, then there should be the argument, well, why is there so much difference in NFL players, salaries? I'm not against paying collegiate athletes. I think that we need to have a really solid system in place and really have done our homework before we implement it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't even want to get into this because I can't even pronounce half these fucking people's names. But just let me give you some statistics on Luka Doncic right here.
All right.
And again, I'm a moron. Do not trust anything I'm saying. But this guy is a guard small forward. He's from Slovenia. He's 6'7", 230 pounds. It says he was in the NBA draft, selected round 1, pick 3, selected by the Atlanta Hawks. Now he plays for the Dallas Mavericks. But he played for Real Madrid. So I did not realize that you could draft people from out of the country. I thought the draft was an American thing.
Well, this might be the kid I'm talking about that played a year of European ball because he didn't want to go to college.
Well, do you want to know how old he is right now?
How old is he?
21.
Well, I'm trying to think what year this was. The kid I'm talking about did this.
I mean, regardless, 21 years old.
Yeah.
And he could be the best basketball player of all fucking time.
Yeah.
21 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane, man.
That's fucking insane, dude. But yeah, he never played for any college. I mean, it's awesome to be able to see somebody make it that far without having to go through the American system of bullshit.
Right. I mean, it's always fun to watch somebody do something non-traditional and be successful.
Yeah. And the problem with him, too, is that I worry he might die of an STD.
Why is that? You banging a bunch
He
of bitches or something?
could be the best-looking guy in the NBA. He could be the best-looking male in the NBA. This guy is an absolute 10 out of 10.
Is he really?
If I swung for the other side, 100% I'd be looking at this guy.
Damn, I'm kind of bummed. I thought you'd be looking at me, bro. What the fuck?
Both. Okay, so we talked about how casuals can get into bracketology, the apps they can use, the stuff they might want to research, a lot of it could be luck if you're a first timer,
And
if you don't
man,
want to do hard research.
It doesn't matter if you do a bunch of research and watch every game you get an opportunity to watch. It is, at the end of the day, still luck.
And fireworks.
You talk about me, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, where I picked Virginia, and Virginia got upset by a 16 seed, UBC. I've never heard of those people before.
One thing I don't really understand, though, is why people do multiple brackets.
Well,
I know why you're going to say, but it's not fun. I
Yeah.
could do fucking 300 brackets. One of them's probably going to fucking win.
oh yeah, well, I mean,
I
it's
would
very
rather,
possible.
you should get one fucking bracket.
yeah.
One bracket.
So the reason a lot of people do it is because, like, say we hold a Nitro show challenge, and somebody fills out a bracket for us, but then somebody submits one to the Dan Patrick show. And you see how I just put us on the level of Dan Patrick show? But
Way better than that show.
we are way better than Dan Patrick show. But
I
anyway,
don't even know who the fuck that is.
you don't know who Dan Patrick is? He's like a humongous sports commentator. He's like the fucking. Have you ever seen First Take? He's kind of like the First Take
Yeah,
guys.
I've seen First Take.
Yeah, he's kind of like those guys, but he's on Fox Sports Network instead of ESPN.
Yeah, I don't turn on Fox.
Anyway, I mean, you can get into like so many different. I mean, like we could do a work bracket. We could do a fucking Nitro show.
Okay,
bracket.
I
We could
understand
do-
that. I just don't understand. Like, can you do multiple brackets by yourself? Like, if you're
Yeah.
not competing with friends, why the fuck are you doing multiple brackets?
I don't know, man. Just to have something to do, I guess.
I guess. I don't know.
I've done it before. Done one just to have, just
Mhm.
to do, But the nice thing about the ESPN Tournament Challenge bracket that I was telling you about is you can enter like different bracket tournaments amongst people you don't even know.
Mhm.
So your bracket is not like you just made it to make it. Like you are actually like playing people, and like the ESPN Tournament Challenge, like different celebrities will get on there and do their own like bracket challenge. So you can submit your bracket into like different celebrities. I'm trying to think of people who have done them. Different football players have done them. Different like musicians. Drake is real big into basketball. You can submit yours to the Drake fan club.
Okay.
Bracket
Well, that's
challenge.
kind of cool.
Yeah, and so I mean, that's one thing that's really cool about the app. I better get an endorsement deal for them, this fucking app, because I've been preaching about these guys all day.
Yeah. One thing that I'll say is for sure give him some money, but also fix fucking ESPN Plus. That app is dog shit.
Yeah, I deleted it. I don't even have it anymore.
Fuck that app.
Yeah.
I pay $5 a month. You need to be able to fix that shit.
Now, can't you watch your fights on ESPN Plus?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the only reason I have it.
Right.
The app's trash.
Yeah, I deleted.
There's
mine.
no quality settings,
Yeah.
so it just chooses what quality it's gonna fucking give you.
Oh, that's bullshit.
So if I go up to my Samsung TV, I might be watching fights in 480.
yeah.
What fucking year is it, ESPN Plus? What fucking year is it? I'm not watching fights in 480. Thank you.
No, I mean I agree.
It's trash. The app is fucking trash.
Oh, yeah.
So
No, I
I'm
agree.
skeptical about using their bracket app. Almost out of
Well-
spite, I would like to say don't use that app.
But you can't really watch games on this app. Like, it is literally just, and like they do an awesome job about updating it. Like, it's a live update. Like, you can look at your phone and like watch the clock count down seconds and watch the live scores without actually watching the game. So there's really no like quality issues.
Yeah, I can do
they
that
have.
on this cool website. It's called GOOGLE.com. Google, and I don't have to download shit and
Does-
support
does-
ESPN. No, I'm kidding.
Does Google let you do a tournament bracket?
It doesn't let you do brackets. I'm just being funny. Yeah, I think it's okay. So I'll download the app. We'll play some brackets. Maybe we'll get something going for the Nitro
Dude,
show.
I'd like that. I think that'd be a good time, dude.
Do you Is there anything else you want to shout out to like look for this season? Like you said, Iowa.
Iowa, yes.
Is there any
Don't
other
sleep on
games right
Iowa.
now? You said it's early. Even you, as the biggest college fanatic that I know, or one of them.
I mean,
Is there anything that you?
It is early, but it's not. So if you're a casual fan, yes, it's early because we're not going to start getting crazy until March. But as a college fan in general, it's not early because like we're now playing interconference play. So, I mean, as far as we can go down the list here. I mean, I haven't watched any games recently just because I've been busy with work. But I mean, we got Baylor and Texas, same conference. They're both top 10 teams. So when Baylor and Texas play, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And every one of these teams has to play twice a year. So if they've already played each other once, they're going to have to play each other again. Baylor's undefeated right now. So I'm saying if they've already played Texas, they've beat Texas. So Baylor goes back to Texas and plays Texas. That game's going to be a dogfight. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we can keep going down the list here. We got Michigan and Iowa. Michigan's at number 4. Iowa's at number 7. Same thing. They're going to have to play each other at some point if they haven't already once. I mean, they're like, and there's so many games. I mean, Alabama and Mizzou, they're both SEC, and they're both for the first time in a long time having quality seasons. So those games are going to be fun. I mean, yeah, let's see, KU and Texas Tech, that'll be fun. Illinois and Ohio State, that'll be fun. Michigan State. Oh, Oklahoma and anybody, that'll be fun. Oklahoma's top right now. But yeah, I mean, so what's going to happen is they're going to finish up their conference play at the end of February. The end of February, 1st of March, they're going to play their conference tournaments. So the SEC will do their tournament. The Big 12 will do their tournament. And the Big 12 tournament is always here in Kansas City, which would be a fun thing to go to. I've always wanted to do it. Haven't got a chance to yet. And then after all the conferences have completed their play, they're going to get together with a committee, and they're going to pick who is what seed in the tournament, and they're going to release the tournament bracket. And then the real fun starts. So it as far as like being early or not, it just depends on what kind of fan you are. So as a casual fan, yeah, I mean it's early. But as a diehard basketball fan, no. I mean shit's just now getting fun. You know what I'm saying? Because like you got all these top ranked schools playing each other in conference play.
Well, you just listed the teams that you can watch. I mean, there's games every day.
Yep,
every day.
Yep.
And so if you want to tune in, you want to start getting hyped, you can watch these teams that he listed off. Man, I'm super excited to know a little bit more and to do March Madness this year.
Yeah.
We definitely got to do something with the Nitro show.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm sure we can get some of the losers from work in with us, and it'll be a good time, dude.
Cool. I thought we should address one more thing.
What's that, bro?
Fucking Chad Wheeler. I know I told you not to read too much on this story.
Okay.
But since we're kind of touching sports, Chad Wheeler is an NFL player who recently choked his girlfriend. Okay. Unconscious. She wakes up, and as she walks through the living room to escape from the apartment or wherever they were staying, Chad Wheeler says to her, "Oh, you're still alive?" And she walks out. He was arrested, and then he made bail for $400,000.
Yeah.
I want to bring this up because I'm fucking enraged.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand how horrible it is that he choked her. This guy was not right in the fucking head.
Yeah.
When you date an NFL player, they've taken so much damage, their brain is not right. We are not excusing this guy. But I don't think it's this guy's fault. I'm not saying he shouldn't be convicted. I'm not saying he shouldn't be charged. But I keep seeing these people. For one, they're like, how could you fucking let this guy out on bail? Because you are innocent until proven guilty. So if I put you in fucking jail for something, don't you want to be able to bail out?
Yeah.
Don't you want to be able to bail out?
Yeah, right.
Okay? Obviously, he's guilty.
Oh, I mean, yeah. But like you say, innocent until proven guilty.
And CTE, man, we've got to address this. And we have to have more awareness. I guarantee you, this was not the first opposition this girl had faced in this relationship.
Right.
It just got a little more severe. And again, I'm making accusations, but I'm almost sure of it that this was not the first opposition this girl had faced physically with this guy.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And you have got, when you're dating these football players, you have to know you run the risk of them snapping. You see it every day in media.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying this poor girl deserved anything to happen to her. I'm just saying, like, let's fucking sit here and stop being in awe for just a moment. Let's stop being in awe. Let's realize, oh, it happened again. That is the right response. Oh, it happened again is the right response. What are we going to do about it? I don't know. I fucking don't know. But what are we going to do now is convict this guy. He's going to go to jail for something that mentally is not really his fault.
Yeah. And,
he's clearly on a manic episode.
Well, and some of these guys are just angry guys in general. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, some of them are just, they've been taught, football's an angry game, get angry, and some of them have anger issues to begin with. But, I mean, like you said, this is not the first time we've sat down and had a conversation. Remember Ray Rice in 2015? I would actually love to talk about the Ray Rice incident.
Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron Hernandez is a fucking prime example.
Dude, it happens every week. Chris Benoit, WWE.
Right, and dude, like even our boy Kareem Hunt kicked old girl in the head in that hotel.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean like Adrian Peterson. Remember when he beat the shit out of his kid?
Yep.
Like this shit, like this is not like news. Like it happens all the fucking time.
These people, in order to gain the positions that they're in, they have to not give a fuck about anything but themselves.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they're taking battering blows to the head day in and day out. Day in and day out.
So I kind of want to ask you something. So I don't know much about fighting, and like what little I know is just from hanging out with you and going to your fights and watching fights with you and stuff. Do you think fighters in general have the same issue that professional football players have as far as taking blows to the head and having the issues with? I don't want to say it, but having an issue in their personal lives with things like that. Like, do you think it is similar things to?
100%.
Do you? Okay.
Here's the difference.
What's up?
In the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, that is the NFL of MMA.
Mm-hmm.
There has never been a recorded death.
Like during a fight?
No. Let that set in. Even after going to the hospital, there has never been a recorded death in the UFC. There's been multiple deaths in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
There has never been a recorded death in the UFC.
Which is your NFL.
Which is the NFL.
Yeah, right.
How many recorded deaths have we had in the NFL?
Oh, my God. Fucking
Tons.
A lot.
Tons.
A lot. There's no... If we were to sit down and talk about them all, there's no place for us to start, and we would be here all day.
Here's the problem. It's the damage you don't see. That's the issue.
Yeah.
I'll just bring up one case, and then I'll shut the fuck up. But BJ Penn, who's a Hall of Famer, BJ Penn, he's from Hawaii. He's probably... I don't even think he's that old. I bet if we looked his age up, he's probably mid to late 30s. But his career lasted a little too long. The game aged over him to where he was not able to be competitive anymore, and he'd just take beating after beating after beating. He just recently got arrested for a DUI. That's probably his 20th incident I've had to read about in the last couple of years.
Right.
He got knocked unconscious at a bar, getting in bar fights. There is so much science. All you have to do is go fucking read it. Impacts to the head cause not only depression, but changes to the brain neurologically. They cause CTE, which is basically atrophy of your brain. And a lot of times that atrophy happens to the part where you're reasonable, or what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's where that atrophy happens.
Right.
There's a huge problem in MMA with these guys getting battered in the head, and then they commit some unspeakable act of violence later on. The problem is CTE, to my knowledge, has only been diagnosed in a live person once.
Really?
Yes. Wow. Probably since this case, there's been more, but I remember it was groundbreaking for them to diagnose CTE in this guy. The thing is, and people don't want to believe this, but boxing is even worse than MMA.
Oh, I believe it.
Because boxing uses these big gloves, and you get hit in the head so many times. And it's not actually the strike. It's your brain going back, forward, side to side.
Yeah.
Okay? Numerous times before you become unconscious and the fight stopped. So you're taking repetitive blows. There is a stigma in boxing, and it's called a smoker. And it's where you have people come to your gym and you basically fight. And it's a form of training. MMA has been very good to get away from this. Really good to get away from this. A lot of the top-level guys in MMA, they don't even spar anymore.
Really?
Because they know that they already know how to fucking fight. They don't need to go take more damage and shorten their career to show people they know how to fight.
Yeah.
So they save it for the octagon.
Right.
In that aspect, I think MMA is better. Now, think about the Omaha drill that you did. Did you ever play football as a kid?
A little bit, yeah. You got to line up and got to hit each other off the
Yep.
ground. Yeah.
You lay on your back, and you get up and you fucking just ram.
Yep.
Okay, on top of the Omaha drill, on top of the daily drilling, I mean, you go train MMA, you're not punching each other in the face every day. You might do jiu-jitsu one day.
Yeah.
You might do wrestling one day.
Right.
You might hit mitts one day. Usually only one day a week do you do sparring.
But in football, you're hitting each other in the head all day, every day.
Fucking day
Yes.
if you're one of the physical players.
Right.
Every day.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have a sense of protection that's not real, and that's your helmet.
Yes.
You think you can hit people harder because you have a helmet. But what did I just say? It's not the
Back and
impact.
forth.
It's the back and
Yeah.
forth. So, yeah, you hit somebody and you didn't get knocked out, but you fucking scattered your brain back and forth,
Yeah.
left and right. And that's what causes the fucking atrophy. And that's why I think it's so bad in sports like NFL and WWE, where maybe they're not getting knocked or punched, but WWE people are slamming on the mat.
Yeah. Pretty violent.
Yeah. If people don't know, like, I'm sure they've heard Chris Benoit killed all 3 of his fucking kids and his fucking wife and then killed himself.
Yeah.
And then they cut open his brain and it wasn't even fucking active. His brain was all CTE.
Yeah.
So we just got to take a step back and we got to think for a minute
Right.
what these guys are going through. But my point is if you're that girl, that Chad Wheeler's girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do anything wrong. And I'm sorry this happened to you.
Yeah.
This is kind of what you signed up for.
Oh, yeah.
And no, you didn't sign up to get killed. But I'm sure you had fucking signs before this
100%.
that this guy needs help. And I'm not saying it's your fault, and I feel so bad for you. But, man, we got to do a better job.
There's no way that he could
Gotta do a better job
on that level like he did and her not see signs. There's
He
no
asked
way.
her to bow down to him, and then he strangled her to the point that he thought he killed her.
Yeah.
This didn't just happen out of nowhere.
No.
He was having signs for months before this.
For sure. Yeah. And now that we've had this conversation, I think I remember reading he was a Seahawks linebacker, wasn't he?
Correct.
Okay, now I think I remember having this conversation. But here's the deal. And later this year, we're going to have another incident like this, and then another, and then another. It's not uncommon for NFL football players to do shit like this. I talked about a little bit ago, Ray Rice in 2015 punched his girlfriend out in the elevator. And what got Ray Rice in trouble was not punching his girlfriend out. The videos of him dragging her limp body down the stairs. That's what got Ray Rice in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talk about Ray Rice, Kareem Hunt, Adrian Peterson. I mean, dude, like, in the next few months, there'll be another NFL star who has beat the shit out of his wife or girlfriend. It's inevitable. I don't know what we can do to fix it. I'd love to know, but
It's going to happen in my thought, in my prayers, and I don't pray, so I don't know why I just said that. But my thought, my hopes, and the part of me that cares about people as a population just hopes that people understand that this is possibility. And when they go date an NFL player, because he's a fucking NFL player, or because they genuinely care about that person, hopefully when they see the signs, they know to back the fuck out now.
Yep.
Because we see it every goddamn week.
Yes.
You saw the signs, get the fuck out.
right. Yeah. And dude,
I'm sorry,
I
you
remember
have to get the fuck out.
when Ray Rice beat the shit out of his girlfriend. I don't know why I'm picking on Ray Rice. Well, I know why I'm picking on Ray Rice because I've always wanted to talk about this with somebody. But here we are 5 years later, so it's kind of irrelevant. But Ray Rice, in an interview with his girl, oh, shit. That's all right. We'll clean it up later. We'll have the cleaning service come down and take care of it.
Cleaning.
Anyway, what got Ray Rice in trouble was, like I said, dragging the limp body off the elevator. But do you remember the interview with his wife or fiance at the time? I never stopped loving him. While I'm laying unconscious on this elevator, I never stopped loving him.
Yeah, she never stopped loving his money.
100%.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: because of her and her making a deal out of the situation, what happened to Ray Rice? He got banned from the league. Where's the money now?
I mean,
And I remember watching this as an 18-year-old kid, and I was like, shit, man. This dude beat the shit out of old girl. I still love him. What? Like, that blew my mind, dude. That blew my mind.
people are insane, and you can't stop them. They're fucking insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
So, I mean, the problem is, too, science needs to catch up.
Yeah.
Science needs to catch up to where we can start diagnosing CTE quicker, earlier, and we don't have any treatments for it.
Yeah.
They say we have some, like cryotherapy. I mean, you can combat it with depression medications, things like that. But
Right.
actual treatment to maybe cure it, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
So,
That's crazy, dude. I really didn't know much about it until now, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
glad we had this conversation.
Well, we've been going for like 3 fucking hours.
Bro, I've had a blast. I can't wait
yeah,
to do this again,
is
dude.
this is fun, dude. Yeah,
I'm excited to go back and
I have
watch
to
this.
pee so bad again.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. This is a good time.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm ready to do it again, dude.
All right.
So.
For yours and mine, for him and hers, that's Gabe Noble. I'm Noah Hellhake, and this was the Nitro Show.
You guys take care.
Take care, everybody.